Rapid True Value for all your essentials at our 10 stores island-wide. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Crisp and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled. A Pure Water would drink. The temperature by Pure Water is
33 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 32 out west in Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, Cartel's attorney tells Court of Appeal to draw a line in the sand and free the men of the 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams.
John Clark warns that if Cartel can be retried after a decade, the rights of poor Jamaicans are at risk.
Transport stakeholders reach consensus after withdrawing their services yesterday.
Excellent meeting, and I think that we have gotten somewhere as it relates to the demerit point situation.
Ride-sharing platform InDrive has denied suggestions that murdered school teacher Daniel Anglin was abducted the day she used its platform.
Opposition spokesman Damen Crawford wants an increase in GCT to fund education.
1% increase in GCT will give us $25 billion. And $25 billion over 400,000 students, that will give you about 67,000 per student.
In news from the rest of the world, Haiti's Transitional Council appoints new cabinet tasked with leading a country under siege by gangs.
Hamas seeks complete halt to war in Gaza proposal response.
In headline sports, West Indies go for third straight win and a Super 8 spot at T20 World Cup.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, in day 2 of the retrial hearing of Vybz Cartel and his 3 co-accused, attorney John Clark called on the Court of Appeal to draw a line in the sand and reject the state's attempt to retry them for the murder of Clive Lizard Williams. You'll hear more.
Also in the cover story, Transport Minister Darrell Vaz will join us with an update from a meeting held today with stakeholders to resolve contentious issues under the Road Traffic Act.
In public opinion at 6:26, we'll ask, do you agree with Damen Crawford's suggestion to add 1 percentage point to GCT and use the revenue to further fund education? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, we'll hear from President of the Transport Operators Development Sustainable Services, Edgerton Newman, and President of the Jamaica Association of Hackney and Contract Carriages, Willett Costley, about what taxi operators will do moving forward following a transportation stakeholders meeting on Tuesday.
At 7, the JTA President, Leighton Johnson, says he believes the Education Ministry wasted millions of dollars by purchasing resources that were not needed by teachers.
In terms of the resources that the Ministry of Education had gone ahead and procured, some instances, if there were consultation done with our members, the money could have been better spent.
Opposition spokesman on education, Senator Damen Crawford, will join us. All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Tuesday afternoon, it's Tuesday, June 11, 2024.
News at 5 is brought to you by the new Pizza Zinger from KFC. Topped with marinara sauce, mozzarella cheese, and pepperoni. Available for a limited time only. KFC, it's finger licking good.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. Attorneys representing Vybz Cartel and his co-accused today urged the Court of Appeal to draw a line in the sand and reject the state's attempt to retry them for the 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams. The impassioned plea was made by John Clark on day 2 of the retrial hearing. Clark, who represents Kahira Jones, urged the 3 judges to give life to the meaning of the Jamaican Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms and set the men free. Norgay Banton reports.
John Clark told the Court of Appeal that the Charter of Rights calls for a more rigorous enforcement and enhancement of human rights in Jamaica. He told Justices MacDonald Bishop, Williams, and Fraser that no justice can be done by sending Cartel, Sean Storm, Andre St. John, and Kahira Jones back to the Home Circuit Court to again stand trial for a matter that's more than a decade old. He asked the justices to use the case to draw a line in the sand. According to Clark, such a line would serve as a warning to the Parliament and the executive arms of the government that the rights of accused persons must be taken seriously. The attorney maintained that retrying the men after more than a decade had passed would not serve the interests of justice. He told the court it would be an economic and emotional burden on the men. Clark reminded the Court of Appeal that the Privy Council had already found that their constitutional rights were breached. He says subjecting them to a new trial would only further breach those rights. Clark asked the court to set down a maximum number of years after which the state should not be permitted to retry accused persons. When asked how resource constraints may influence unfortunate delays in criminal matters, Clark pressed on. He urged the court to use the Cartel matter to set down a marker. Clark told the judges that sending Cartel and his co-accused to face another trial may also affect the rights of other criminal defendants. He told the court that there were already citizens waiting on the trial list trying to clear their names. According to Clark, Cartel's case being sent back would mean it would push other matters further back on the list. This, he says, would be an injustice to those who have been waiting for justice. That is not the country we want to live in, he told the judges. The decade-old legal saga is again before the local Court of Appeal after the UK-based Privy Council quashed the men's 2014 murder convictions and sent the matter back to the appellate tribunal to determine if they should be retried for the murder. The hearing will continue tomorrow when Clark is expected to call on affidavit evidence of the accused men in arguing against a retrial. The Crown is expected to open its arguments for a retrial on Wednesday. Norige Banton for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, speaking to journalists outside the Court of Appeal, John Clark warned that if the justice system can retry Cartel after a decade, then all poor Jamaicans would be at the mercy of an unjust system.
We are also recognizing that if the court can happen to Cartel, it can happen to other Jamaican citizens, including the poorest of us. So what it means is that if a Jamaican is in custody for 13 years and then he comes and says, my money is done, I have next month to find an next lawyer, and I'm worried that the system won't give me justice. It means that in such a scenario, he may very well, if a president is said one way or the other, may feel aggrieved, and we're asking the powerful court to examine our arguments and, in light of all the facts of this case, do what they think is just.
John Clark, attorney at law.
Still in court, the daughter of slain businessman Keith Clark, Brittany, has accused the Jamaica Defence Force, JDF, of paying millions of dollars to defense attorneys representing the 3 soldiers who murdered her father. Brittany testified that, in return, the defense has been fabricating stories in the ongoing murder trial of the 3 soldiers in the Supreme Court in downtown Kingston. Keith Clark was killed during a police military operation in May 2010. Brittany, who is the second witness in the trial, was being cross-examined on Tuesday. Robian Williams was there.
The soldiers, Lance Corporal Greg Tinglin, Corporal Odell Buckley, and Private Arnold Henry, have been on trial since May 14 this year. The defense's case is that 7 to 8 men, including then-fugitive Christopher Dudus Coke, were being harbored in the basement at Clark's Upper Kirkland Heights house. Henry's attorney, Linton Gordon, suggested to Brittany that she didn't know who was in her basement on May 27, 2010. Quote, "You never knew who was there. You just come here and telling the court what you believe and hope they accept it. That's what you're doing." End quote. Brittany, who became irritated, said, "No, what you are doing is fabricating a story that the army had paid you millions of dollars to speak. That's what you're doing. I know my home and my home was closed." Mr. Linton pointed out that she wasn't able to say if anyone was in her basement because she didn't look to see on the day in question. He accused her of making up stories to protect her father's reputation. Brittany answered, "No, sir, I am not doing that. That is not true." Mr. Linton told her that she had not been truthful throughout the entirety of her testimony. Brittany shot back, "I have been very truthful to this honorable court. You're the one fabricating stories along with your colleagues. Sir, stop fabricating stories." Mr. Linton suggested that the master bedroom that the Clarks were in was completely dark when the soldiers entered. He submitted that Mr. Clark pointed his licensed firearm at the soldiers, and that's when they started firing their guns at him. Brittany rejected those suggestions. "He most definitely did not, sir. That's impossible. I do not agree with you." Mr. Linton claimed that the witness made up a story about her father climbing down from a closet with his back turned to the soldiers when he was shot 21 times. To this, Brittany responded, quote, "In my statement given just after the incident, I indicated that that is what occurred, not knowing that this country, our army, would go to the lengths of covering up something." End quote. The trial will resume on Thursday morning at 10. Robeanne Williams for Nationwide News.
Transport Minister Darrell Vaz says several recommendations have been made by taxi associations following a meeting with the Transport Ministry on Tuesday. The meeting follows the withdrawal of services by some PPV operators on Monday. They were concerned about the move to suspend driver's licenses as well as the assignment of points for certain infractions under the Road Traffic Act. Minister Vaz says the main areas of concern were addressed.
I arrived at that meeting at 10 o'clock unannounced to make sure that the meeting was on in earnest and also to give a direct charge. I'm confirming that during the review, all areas of contention in the Road Traffic Act 2018 were identified and recommendations have been made that will be forwarded to me for consideration based on the review of the Road Traffic Act, which I already indicated would be completed by the end of June.
The minister says another meeting will be convened in the coming weeks to address other issues.
One outstanding issue remains, and that will be dealt specifically at another meeting to be convened in the coming week. And of course, of particular interest is how to address the issue of persons who have already reached the threshold of demerit points for suspension of license up to the point of the review. That matter also will be referred to the ministry and a decision taken at cabinet level.
Darrell Vaz, the Transport Minister.
Meanwhile, President of the One Voice Taxi Association, Oscar Finnegan, described Tuesday's meeting as a success.
It was an excellent meeting. It is one of the few transportation meetings held with operators and investors and agencies of government. We went through the entire Road Traffic Act and we made several recommendations, and then the recommendation made are going to be presented to the minister and then we'll hear from the minister. But excellent meeting, and I think that we have gotten somewhere as it relates to the demerit point situation.
Oscar Finnegan, president of the One Voice Taxi Association.
Ride-sharing platform InDrive has denied suggestions that murdered school teacher Danielle Anglin was abducted the day she used its platform. The company issued the denial in a statement to the media on Tuesday. Dana Davey has more in this report.
InDrive says thanks to its AI-powered facial recognition technology, 99.9% of Jamaican rides have been incident-free. It says accusations that Danielle Anglin was abducted and murdered after using its service are false. While extending condolences to Miss Anglin's family and pledging to support them, the company says it is important to provide complete transparency. It says the school teacher last used this platform on May 11. That's 2 days before she's alleged to have disappeared. The company says based on information received from the authorities, it can also confirm that the suspect in custody is not a registered user of its platform. It says there is no name, number, or email address associated with the suspect. The company says it's collaborating with authorities on the investigation into the disappearance and suspected murder and can confirm that it did not happen on the InDrive platform. It says it will continue to cooperate closely with the police to ensure justice is served in the matter. The company says it has implemented an enhanced user verification system which bars drivers from accessing the platform without all the requested paperwork being approved. InDrive says it has been in dialogue with the relevant authorities in order to co-create initiatives that stamp out assault and violence for both drivers and passengers. Dana Davey for Nationwide News.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. More after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is...
It's 15 minutes after 5.
Rent-to-Kill Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rent-to-Kill Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rent-to-Kill is
33 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 32 out west in Montego Bay.
To seize opportunities on your business horizon, you need tailored financing solutions from a partner that takes the time to understand your business. Sagicor Investments. We offer mid-sized to large corporations the debt and equity financing solutions they need to drive growth. Backed by the strength of Sagicor Group, one of the largest financial conglomerates in the region, you can be confident that we will deliver. Make your business move with Sagicor Investments. Contact our capital markets unit at 888-SAGICOR.
Continuing the news, opposition spokesman on education, Senator Damen Crawford, is proposing that the government increase general consumption tax, GCT, by 1 percentage point and use the revenue to provide additional funds to the education sector. Senator Crawford was speaking on the weekend at the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, JAPS, conference in Trelawney.
For example, a 1% increase in GCT will give us $25 billion. And $25 billion over 400,000 students, that will give you about 67,000 per student. If you are interested in saying, this funding model should be quote-unquote free education, because education has never been free. So the total package of the education includes the uniform. That's not included in the free education. It includes the lunch money. That's not included in the free education. So it's not just the policy. The reality is that parents have to pay some contributions to education. But the fee is supposed to be no fee education. That is what we're really at, no fee. So if we're going to do no fee, then it must be subsidized in totality by the government.
The government has pursued a policy of no net new taxes for the last 8 consecutive budget cycles. That move has been considered a significant milestone, but Senator Crawford questioned how new programs for schools will be developed if there are no new funds to support them.
If the ministers change and the policies don't change, the outcome is likely the same. So if the policy politically is to say no new taxes, etc., then there will be no new funding. And as soon as the public accept that, is the better for us. The celebration of no new taxes means the acceptance of no new programs. How are you going to get new programs without new taxes?
Senator Damen Crawford, opposition spokesman on education.
President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, Leighton Johnson, says the Ministry of Education wasted millions of dollars by purchasing resources that were not needed by the country's teachers. This comes after Permanent Secretary Dr. Kassan Troop lamented that teachers were underutilizing teaching resources provided by the ministry. Mahira Stewart reports.
While addressing a sensitization session for teachers at the Montego Bay Convention Center in Rose Hall, St. James last week, Dr. Troop revealed that the ministry was not getting a meaningful return on its investment in the teaching and learning process. She says teachers were not making proper use of the resources the ministry spent billions on acquiring. However, the JTA's president says the full story is not being told. Speaking Tuesday on Cliff Hughes Online, Mr. Johnson cited poor internet connections in schools as one of the key reasons teachers are unable to utilize the resources.
A lot of these resources are internet-based, and being the fact that they are internet-based means that the student and the teacher has to have consistent internet in order for these learning resources to be fully functional and effective. Our members and teachers have indicated in many instances that what they face within the classroom is that there is unstable internet in some instances, and in many instances teachers have to continue to purchase hotspot plans for their personal devices in order to access these.
Dr. Troop says 40,000 Microsoft 365 licenses worth $89 million were purchased for the sector. Mr. Johnson says this was an area in which the ministry overspent.
In terms of Microsoft, perhaps a conversation could be had further to see exactly was there the need to purchase licenses for the Microsoft suite, which is not the learning tools.
You think they should not have gone and purchased those 40,000 licenses?
No, I don't think.
The JTA president says the association is yearning for a reality where teachers are given the opportunity to advise the ministry on where they should allocate funds.
We long for the day where, when we speak about a consultative process, a conversation, it is not just the Ministry of Education taking a decision and then coming to inform us of the decision and have us ask questions on the decision and then call that a consultation. A consultation has to come that, hey, here is a policy directive that we want to go. How can we develop? I strongly believe that we need to get to the place and space where the teachers of Jamaica become the chief advisors to the Ministry of Education, to the Minister of Education, to the Permanent Secretary.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Haiti's Transitional Council has appointed a new cabinet. The move marks the final step in rebuilding the government that will lead a country that is under siege by gangs. Carlos Hercules, the attorney for Prime Minister Gary Coney, has been appointed Minister of Justice and Public Security. Coney himself has also been named the Interior Minister, while Jean-Marc Berthier-Antoine will be Defense Minister. Haiti is struggling with gangs that control at least 80% of its capital. It is preparing for the UN-backed deployment of a police force from Kenya, expected in the coming weeks.
Hamas says it has submitted its response to a US-backed plan for a ceasefire in Gaza. A senior group official told the BBC that it still requires an Israeli commitment to a permanent ceasefire. In a statement, the group and its Palestinian Islamic Jihad PIJ allies expressed readiness to positively reach a deal. The proposed ceasefire plan, which was endorsed by the UN Security Council on Monday, calls for a 6-week ceasefire that would eventually become permanent. Qatar and Egypt, along with the United States, have mediated negotiations between Israel and Hamas. In its statement on Tuesday evening, Hamas called for a complete halt to fighting in Gaza. It says the response prioritizes the interests of the Palestinian people and emphasizes the necessity of a complete halt to the ongoing aggression in Gaza. The groups added that they were ready to engage positively to reach an agreement that ends the war. The White House National Security spokesman, John Kirby, said it was helpful that Hamas had submitted a response and that U.S. officials were evaluating the group's requests.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour. Cartel's attorney tells Court of Appeal to draw a line in the sand and free the men of the 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams.
John Clark warns that if Cartel can be retried after a decade, the rights of poor Jamaicans are at risk.
Transport stakeholders reached consensus after withdrawing their services yesterday. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
News at 5 was brought to you by the new Pizza Zinger from KFC. Topped with marinara sauce, mozzarella cheese, and pepperoni. Available for a limited time only. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Day 5 at the European Athletics Championships at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome, Italy, produced some stunning world-class performances merely weeks from the big Olympic Games in Paris. In a high-quality men's triple jump final, Spain's Jordan Diaz Fortune, formerly of Cuba, produced the third longest jump in history to win gold with 18 meters 18. Also the best in the world this year by miles. Fortune's fellow former Cuban Pedro Pichardo, who competes for Portugal, had to settle for silver despite breaking Jonathan Edwards' 26-year-old European Championship record with a leap of 18 meters 04. Norway's Olympic and 3 times world champion Karsten Warholm set a new championship record on his way to a third title in 46.98 seconds, beating Alessandro Sibilio of Italy 47.50. The outstanding Dutch Femke Bol won her 4th European title after improving her own championship record in the women's 400 meters hurdles to take gold in 52.49 seconds. This ahead of the improving French woman Louis Maravar 54.23. The hugely popular Italian world and Olympic champion Gianmarco Tamberi delighted the home fans inside the stadium, including President Sergio Mattarella, to win the men's high jump with 2 meters 31. The women's 200 meters ended in a photo finish, but victory went to Switzerland's Munjimba Kambunje in 22.49 seconds, a full 100th of a second ahead of Britain's Daryl Neita in 22.50. Trinidad and Tobago's former world 200 meters champion and former senator Atta Bolden says Jamaica's medal prospects at the Paris Olympic Games will not be as lucrative as in recent editions. Jamaica won 9 medals at the 2020 Tokyo Games and 8 at the Rio 26 Summer Games in Brazil. Bolden sees Sprinter Oblique Seville as Jamaica's best chance of winning a medal in the men's sprints.
If you ask me what the Jamaican prospects look like on the men's side, I don't see where you're going to get any 200-meter medals. I think that would be a little bit of a fantasy. But in the 100, what I've seen from Oblique, and I'm yet to see what Blake has for us this month. There's some other Jamaicans, including your national champion from last year, who I think will have something to say this month at the trials. But Oblique looks like Oblique. He looks even better. And what he did to Noah was the best thing he could have done. Look over at him as if to say, oh, really? 4 gold medals in Paris? Really? You're the world champion? What about that? Because that is what's missing from today's game.
And the Blake that Bolden mentioned there was Akeem Blake. Now he says Jamaicans should temper their medal expectations in the women's 100 meters.
There is not going to be a sweep this year. In fact, I think Jamaican fans should prepare to get 1 medal in the women's 100 in Paris, because I haven't seen Shelley yet. We know Shelley is Shelley. That's my all-time favorite sprinter. But we haven't seen her, and it's June. Julian Alfred is not going anywhere. Sha'Carri is not going anywhere. And I think right now, and it's early, right now you'd be a fool to think that Julian Alfred would lose to 3 people. I think you'd be a fool to think that Sha'Carri would lose to 3 people. I don't like how Sharika looks, but I'm also not betting against nobody in that MVP camp. There's a reason why they've taken home the last 4 gold medals.
Bolden says Jamaica's medals will come from non-traditional events.
So Jamaica is going to get medals in Paris, and I think, triple jump, looks like it. A long jump, looks like it. So Jamaica will get medals in other places, which I think will help their medal count. But I don't know if you're going to be approaching records that have been recently. That's just sports. Injuries play a part.
At Bolden, two-time champions, the West Indies, will go in search of their third straight win at the ICC T20 World Cup when they face New Zealand at the Brian Lara Stadium in Tobago tomorrow. The Windies have already registered wins over Minnows, Papua New Guinea and Uganda, while the Kiwis go in search of their first win from two starts. Veteran commentator Joseph Retz Pereira says he doesn't expect any change from the West Indies in the starting team from the one that played against the first two teams.
Judging from the selection they played against Papua New Guinea and didn't play all that well, and judging from who they played against Uganda, it's now fairly straightforward that they are going to play the same team against a New Zealand side who must also turn their fortunes totally around because they look a shadow of themselves when they played the Afghans at Providence.
Joseph Retz Pereira. Pakistan secured their first win from 3 starts at the World Cup. They beat Canada by 7 wickets today in New York, chasing 107 to win. Pakistan reached their target with 15 balls to spare. Opener Mohammad Rizwan was unbeaten on 53, while captain Babar Azam made 33. Guyana-born Dillon Haliger picked up 2 wickets for Canada. Earlier, the Canadians made 106 for 7 in their 20 overs. Aaron Johnson, 52, captain Saad bin Zafar, 10, and Kaleem Sana, 13, were the only players to reach double figures. Mohamed Amir and Haris Rauf took 2 wickets apiece for Canada. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka will face Nepal in Group D at Central Broad Park and Broad County Stadium, Lauderhill this evening, and it gets going at 6:30. Australia will take on Namibia in Group B at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua. That gets underway at 7:30 this evening. And it's now time for the nationwide Olympic Fact. This one is brought to you courtesy of Fontana Pharmacy.
This is Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Fontana Pharmacy. It's all good inside.
Did you know that Jamaican athletes competed as part of a unified Caribbean team at one Olympic Games? Yes, that's a fact. Jamaica's athletes competed as part of the West Indies Federation team at the 1960 Olympics in Rome.
That was Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Fontana Pharmacy. It's all good inside.
And if I may respond to Student for Life in our YouTube space, she's asking if I agree with Atto. Yeah, 95% of what he said, I totally agree with him. Especially at women's 100 meters. It's going to be cracking. And it's going to be difficult to see Jamaica without their real top guns really getting in a medal. He mentioned Julian Alfred. She's just top of the packs. Marie-Josée Talou is always going to be there. And of course, I think the person to beat in Paris is going to be Shakira Richardson. It's going to be cracking, but let's see how it goes. But of course, the only place to follow that is right here on Nationwide 90 FM exclusively starting July 26th with the opening ceremony. Yeah, that's sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Hyundai, the home of modern, premium, affordable vehicles. Call us at 876-630-1511. The time by Hyundai is
5:32.
You know, sir, through the new social housing program, the government has already given houses to hundreds of poor Jamaicans and will give over 1,500 more houses to Jamaicans in need. We are building Jamaica.
The temperature by the office of the Prime Minister is
33 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
Touching lives every day, so many different ways, a part of all you do. Sagicor will make you feel secure, reaching out for more, we'll always see you through. Reach for more, whatever you're dreaming, whatever your goals, will help you achieve them. You're never alone, taking care of today's needs, take care of tomorrow's dreams, every day helping you succeed. That's what Sagicor means. Today's needs, tomorrow's dreams. Sagicor.
Attention engine enthusiasts in Jamaica. Did you know that Lucalza Caribbean is the only authorized distributor of Chevron lubricants? Lucalza has been the trusted partner for Chevron lubricants in Jamaica for over 13 years, offering the full range of Chevron and Texaco products including Ursa, Haviland, Supreme, Delo and more. For peace of mind and superior engine care, trust the Chevron lubricants portfolio, distributed by Lucalza Caribbean and their network of reliable resellers. Don't compromise your engine performance. Drive with Chevron. Drive with confidence.
Experience Jamaica's Olympic triumphs in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Petrojam E1087 gas promotion, serving Jamaica's energy needs.
Usain Bolt won his second gold medal of the Beijing Olympics and Jamaica's 10th overall when he ran a world record of 19.30 seconds to win the men's 200 meters final.
You just experienced a Jamaican Olympic triumph in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Petrojam E1087 gas promotion, serving Jamaica's energy needs. Cover story is brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Drive Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 5.99% interest rate. Yes, shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 5.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 5.99%. Conditions apply.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Good afternoon, Siobhan.
Good afternoon, Sir Hughes.
Good. Well, in our cover story this afternoon, attorneys representing Vybz Cartel and his co-accused today urged the Court of Appeal to draw a line in the sand and reject the state's attempt to retry them for the 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams. The plea was made by John Clark on day 2 of the retrial hearing.
Clark, who represents Kahira Jones, urged the three judges to give life to the meaning of the Jamaican Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms and set the men free. More in this report from Nora Gay Banton.
John Clark told the Court of Appeal that the Charter of Rights calls for a more rigorous enforcement and enhancement of human rights in Jamaica. He told Justices MacDonald Bishop, Williams and Fraser that no justice can be done by sending Cartel, Sean Storm, Andre St. John and Kahira Jones back to the Home Circuit Court to again stand trial for a matter that's more than a decade old. He asked the justices to use the case to draw a line in the sand. According to Clark, such a line would serve as a warning to the Parliament and the executive arms of the government that the rights of accused persons must be taken seriously. The attorney maintained that retrying the men after more than a decade had passed would not serve the interests of justice. He told the court it would be an economic and emotional burden on the men. Clark reminded the Court of Appeal that the Privy Council had already found that their constitutional rights were breached. He says subjecting them to a new trial would only further breach those rights. Clark asked the court to set down a maximum number of years after which the state should not be permitted to retry accused persons. When asked how resource constraints may influence unfortunate delays in criminal matters, Clark pressed on. He urged the court to use the cartel matter to set down a marker. Clark told the judges that sending Cartel and his co-accused to face another trial may also affect the rights of other criminal defendants. He told the court that there were already citizens waiting on the trial list trying to clear their names. According to Clark, Cartel's case being sent back would mean it would push other matters further back on the list. This, he says, would be an injustice to those who have been waiting for justice. That is not the country we want to live in, he told the judges. The decade-old legal saga is again before the local court of appeal after the UK-based Privy Council quashed the men's 2014 murder convictions and sent the matter back to the appellate tribunal to determine if they should be retried for the murder. The hearing will continue tomorrow when Clark is expected to call on affidavit evidence of the accused men in arguing against a retrial. The Crown is expected to open its arguments for a retrial on Wednesday. Norige Banton for Nationwide News.
And in the meantime, John Clark, speaking to journalists outside the Court of Appeal in downtown Kingston, warned that if the justice system can retry Cartel after a decade, then all poor Jamaicans would be at the mercy of an unjust system.
We are also recognizing that if the court say can happen to Cartel, it can happen to other Jamaican citizens, including the poorest of us. So what it means is that if a Jamaican is in custody for 13 years and then he comes and says, my money is done, I'd have next month to find an next lawyer, and I'm worried that the system won't give me justice. It means that in such a scenario, he may very well, if a president is said one way or the other, may feel aggrieved, and we're asking the powerful court to examine our arguments and, in light of all the facts of this case, do what they think is just.
That's John Clark, attorney at law. So, Mr. Hughes, do you find that argument compelling?
He certainly commanded the attention of the court. Whether or not it will be compelling, I leave that to the justices. Yes? But he certainly commanded, I'm told, the court today. Yes? How effective that is, I don't know. After the break, what happened with the public transport operators today? We'll hear from the Transport Minister, Daryl Vaz.
Building wealth the smart way means you have a clear mission for your money. Specific and measurable means defining the reason for your financial goals. Achievable and realistic means keeping those goals meaningful, yet attainable. Think more retirement, less world's richest. Timely means keeping a time frame in mind so that all efforts remain focused.
Visit barita.com/opportunities for more growth coach insights.
Does your organization need help to achieve compliance with the Data Protection Act? Contact We Manage Trust today at 876-339-5982 or email info@wemanagetrust.com. Let their team help you to achieve compliance with confidence and learn about their tailored MSME packages. We Manage Trust, the data protection experts. Give them a call at 876-339-5982. That's 876-339-5982. Call them today.
Clearing personal non-commercial shipments at the port? Avoid the wait. Request a contactless clearance through your agent today. It's more efficient. It's secure. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
5:43.
Fast, friendly service? Check. Delicious chicken? Check. Get Quick Chick. Drive-through available at 29 Grand Spen Road. Great taste without the wait. The temperature by Quick Chick is
33 degrees Celsius here in the capital city, Kingston, and 33 out west in Montego Bay.
"17 minutes going up to 6 o'clock, 33 degrees Celsius on the outside. It's hot, steaming. Yes, make sure you're properly hydrated. Yes, please be careful. Well, Transport Minister Daryl Vaz says several recommendations have been made by taxi associations following a meeting with the Transport Ministry officials today. The meeting follows the withdrawal of services by some PPV operators on Monday. They were concerned about the move to suspend driver's licenses as well as the assignment of points for certain infractions under the Road Traffic Act.
The minister says the main areas of concerns were addressed, and he says another meeting will be convened in the coming week to address other issues. Minister Vaz also joins us now. Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon to you, gentlemen, to your listeners.
Good afternoon. Well, we are hearing from you, we are hearing from Mr. Finnegan, and we'll be hearing later that this meeting went incredibly well. How so?
So, Cliff, let me tell you. Again, I just want to indicate my personal disappointment in relation to what took place yesterday. I think it was unnecessary and it was premature. But it is what it is, and the truth is that I'm not going to cast any blame other than to say that hopefully we have learned some lessons in terms of the communication from my ministry and the Transport Authority, and of course the communication between the heads of the transport organizations and their membership, because I think that is where probably the breakdown came in terms of passing the information on. Just for background, let us just refresh that there was a meeting held on June 5th and an agreed meeting to follow through on June 11th, which was today. That was communicated widely, both by the transport operators and myself and the ministry, but to no avail because they still took action yesterday and, of course, caused serious disruption. And most importantly, there was no winners. Jamaica lost, the people lost, and those who got involved in it didn't earn yesterday. So there's no benefit, and today we're back to normal. Anyway, where are we today? The meeting was scheduled for 9 o'clock. I actually went there unannounced at 10 o'clock to make sure that the meeting was on in earnest and well represented. Very, very impressed with the turnout that was there and, of course, the discussions that were taking place. I gave them once again my one charge, which is communication, collaboration, and consensus. But I did make it very clear, to which I got a round of ovation, that this is not going to be in any way, shape, or form a watering down of the Road Traffic Act. They are anomalous. I accept that. There are some things that don't make sense, and those are what we're going to look to review to make sure that there's equity and transparency in the system. The good thing is that there was a wide representation there, not only from the Jamaica Constabulary Force, Transport Authority, Island Traffic, and of course the Operators Steering Committee, Public Transport Operators Steering Committee, and technical representatives from my ministry. And of course, one of the big ticket items, no pun intended, was the ticketing demerit points. Those represented there was the Jamaica Association of Transport Operators, the National Council of Taxi Association, All Voice, National Transport Alliance Group, Spanish Town Taxi Association, Jamaica Association of Hackney Contract Carriage, and other operators, individual operators. So, a lot was discussed, as has been said before. Obviously, these have to come to the ministry for review, which, as I indicated before, will be done before the end of June. And there is still a discourse and a discussion to take place in relation to the demerit points for suspension of licenses. There is going to be another meeting, and I have instructed them after the meeting today that that meeting must be held no later than Monday or Tuesday of next week, because time is against me in terms of the end of June. So I must say, one of the issues also was how to resolve the issue of motorists who are issued with tickets for infractions and thereafter discover that the information pertaining to the driver and or the motor vehicle is incorrect. And this was addressed. The police are going to make available a 24-hour help desk at the Traffic Ticketing Support Unit at Lower Elliston Road, and there's also going to be an email address, which is ttpu@jcf.gov.jm, and a telephone number designated and dedicated of 876-591-5671. 876-591-5671. All in all, I can say that the report that I'm getting, as I only was there for about half an hour, was that the meeting was amicable, the discussions were fruitful, and we are making progress in relation to some of the...
All right. A lot to chew on there. Minister Vaz. So what is the framework? They identify the contentious issues, the provisions under the Road Traffic Act that they want reviewed and amended. What is going to happen after today now in terms of the specifics of those provisions that ought to be reviewed?
Those will be referred to the ministry for my attention, and I will take that to Cabinet in relation to the recommendations from the ministry for ratification, or, of course, obviously, any other decision that the Cabinet may make in relation to those recommendations.
So you take it to Cabinet, yes, and then Cabinet says yea or nay. Is there a technical committee that is going to sit down and speak to the specifics, for example, the wording of the provisions?
That's absolutely correct. Just as the Road Traffic Act was reviewed, there is a team from the ministry and other government agencies, including our legal team here. And the bottom line is that we will have to go there to possibly go to legislative committee first to go through and make sure that the wording meets the requirements.
Minister, in terms of, as you put forward, you're not attempting to water down the regulations under the Road Traffic Act, but how then do you achieve the alignment that essentially satisfies the operators who I can imagine do not want those kind of stiff penalties as put forward, along with that demerit system?
The bottom line is that the sense that I get from the representatives of the steering committee and these heads of taxi associations, that they are very aware of what the situation is and has been on the roads, and they are prepared to accept their fair share of the blame for what has been transpiring. Fact is, the only way what has happened could be happening is if they were allowed to get away with it, which is what has brought us to where we are. People getting tickets upon tickets upon tickets and disregarding them, throwing them in the waistband or putting them in the glove compartment without feeling any way, shape or form that they will be pursued and that they will be brought to book. And I think that is what is happening now in relation to what has taken place in relation to the transition, and we have to make sure that it continues. So not everybody is going to be happy. Let's make that very clear. And I fully understand that, and I'm fully prepared to take the heat at that time. But it will be for a good and just cause, and that is to bring back some semblance of order.
One of the issues
on our roads.
One of the issues the operators have pointed to, especially the taxi operators, the coaster bus, not the coaster taxi operators, that there is very limited facility for them to stop and let off and pick up passengers. That right now they use the bus stops, and that strictly they're not supposed to do. They're forbidden from doing it. And it's really left to the discretion of the traffic police as to what to do. What is the solution to that?
I had that discussion again today, and I want to really praise the response of ACP Mackenzie. He has been at every meeting, and he leads from the front. He doesn't send his second in command or anybody else. He comes, and he's very knowledgeable, and he's very aware of the situation. And I have said it from the time I became transport minister. You cannot ask people to operate under certain conditions unless the government and the transport authority and the municipal corporation provide the proper facilities for those persons to operate. And that is not going to happen overnight, and that is going to require some level of discretion. And ACP Mackenzie is fully aware of that. And the issue is, how does he get that across to the women and men that he leads in the traffic section across Jamaica? Because the bottom line is some of these operators, based on where they traverse and where they operate in the various spaces, cannot obey the traffic regulations, even if they want to. And that happens more often than not. So I am very, very aware of that. And I agree 100% that it is something that they feel that they are being penalized when they have no option.
But Minister, doesn't that fall more to your ministry and the authorities rather than the police in terms of zoning and providing the proper infrastructure?
So you follow me close now. That's an issue that is a very, very complex issue because the Transport Authority operates very few transport centers. It is a municipal corporation that do that. And once again, it's a similar situation where the municipal corporations are given these responsibilities and they do not get the funding in order to make sure that the facilities are run in a way that people can go there, people are inclined to go there, there are sanitary conveniences, there is shelter, there is disabled facilities, and the bottom line is more often than not, the persons decide not to use a transport center because of the situation in there, and then go outside on the road, which is what causes the chaos and confusion in relation to the operations. I've been out there. There's very few places that I have not been since Transport Minister, and the fact is that there is a lot that can be done with collaboration, including with private sector, especially those companies that do distribution of food and beverage and other such things, because labeling can be used and collaborations, which I saw in Trelawney recently, to make sure that those facilities are earning for the municipal corporation, so they can put back into it and put the proper facilities in there. Mm-hmm. So it's a difficult task for me, because the truth of the matter is that I don't have, or the Ministry of Transport doesn't have direct responsibility for the transport centers, but we do have other things that we can do and are implementing, but it needs a holistic approach. It needs an all-of-government approach.
Just before you go, Minister, InDrive, the ride-sharing app that you banned recently, they issued a statement today essentially saying, not us, saying that the abduction and killing of the teacher Danielle Anglin was not on its platform. According to the statement by InDrive, the information they have seemed to suggest that Miss Anglin last used their service on May 11, 2 days before she disappeared. What say you? Your reaction?
So, Cliff, I am guided by the police information that I received and the police correspondence that I received recommending the action that I took. But guess what? The action that I took, despite the fact that it's controversial, what has it done? It has brought InDrive, who was missing in action, non-responsive to the police force, non-responsive to the Transport Authority, non-responsive to the Minister of Transport, to the table, to the point of now, I am getting calls and letters and WhatsApp almost by the day as to how quickly can they meet with me. So the bottom line is, what has my actions done? My actions have brought all of them to the table finally, despite the fact that we've been trying for many months, in some cases in excess of a year. And we are going to put in place a proper ride-sharing regulation that will allow the Jamaican authorities to be able to have access to the information that they have, to make sure that they are doing the background checks and the screening and the fit and proper of the drivers. Mm-hmm. Because as I said before, what's the sense of being able to track a situation that ends up bad in terms of death, rape, whatever it is, and being able to identify the suspect because of technology and the technology that the ride-sharing companies use, rather than being able to prevent it by having in place the checks and balances and the coordination between the regulatory arm of the Transport Authority and the police.
In the statement, Minister Vaz, they say they are going to be in dialogue. They are now in dialogue with the authorities to co-create initiatives to stamp out assault and violence for both drivers and passengers. Have you seen anything in that direction?
I have a comprehensive proposal from Uber, which deals with all of those things and what they are prepared to do in terms of giving us access to their information. And I have a letter from InDrive requesting a meeting and committing to cooperate and do whatever is necessary. And therefore, I think that the action that I took was necessary. And if it saves one Jamaican life or one foreigner, tourist, whatever it is, it would have been worth it, because we could not continue like we were on. And this is not something that it was just one incident. There have been several incidents, and we have a responsibility to protect the citizens of this country.
And what were you up to in the Parliament this afternoon when you played that?
I had one of the best. I had one of the best days in Parliament in recent times. I've never seen an opposition.
Tell us what you did. What did you do?
Well, first of all, the Minister of Legal and Constitutional was speaking in the sectoral. And, of course, what she was doing is giving an update on the Constitutional Reform Committee and its activities since its inception. And the first thing I did was to recommend to the opposition leader that he take leave of the House and go in the conference room and watch it on TV until such time as we were concluded. And I must tell you, to see him squirm in the Parliament and his colleagues unable to defend him was something else. It's one of the better parliaments.
But I heard you also played. What did you do, Siobhan?
I played the UK anthem during one aspect of her speech, and basically showed him a picture in the video of King Charles, for which he didn't look up. But the truth of the matter, there's a lot more to come on that, Cliff. I won't say any more now, but I feel strongly that this matter that has been going on for 6 weeks, taking him 4 weeks to admit after coming under immense pressure, and his excuses, his deceit, and his just absolute bad handling of the situation.
Have you ruled out pursuing legal action in the court, sir?
Absolutely not. Anybody that knows Daryl Vaz knows that when I feel strongly about something, I am not going to stop, and I go to the end to get.
So have you engaged the lawyers?
The result. I've had several persons that have consulted me, contacted me. I've had persons from the private sector. I've had persons from within their own PNP that has called me to say, please don't ease up.
Well, you haven't answered my question. Have you engaged lawyers to prepare legal action?
I have not engaged lawyers because I do my homework and my research first. I'm in consultation with my party, because I'm a member of a party, but I'm also an individual in my own right. And the truth of the matter is that I've had several discussions, including persons who have taken me to court and were successful in the whole dual citizenship case back in 2008.
Persons who took you to court?
That's right.
That sounds like Mr. Dabdoob.
100%.
Correct.
Along with my King's Counsel, who defended me greatly and allowed me to get a by-election rather than the seat turned over automatically. King's Counsel Ransford Graham, who is my stated attorney from 2008, and several others.
Okay.
So interesting times ahead. The only thing I'd leave you with, Cliff, is to find out what could be so important for him to be reluctant to this point of making a public statement in relation to his position as to whether he's going to renounce or not. And if he's not going to renounce, what would be the reason why he would not want to renounce with his ambitions to become the number one
Mr. Vaz,
the Prime Minister of this country?
Daryl Vaz is the Minister of Transport and also the Member of Parliament for West Portland. Thank you, sir.
Listen out.
Listen out for what?
Time will tell.
Oh. Thank you, Mr. Vaz.
Watch Parliament. You'll get a good laugh.
All right. The headlines are next.
Cover Story was brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Say hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan and secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness today. Call 888-367-5433 for details.
The time by Guardian Life is
5 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening. With the headlines at 6, I'm Nora Gay Banton. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education and Youth, Dr. Kassan Troop, is reminding teachers of the $15 million pool of funds available to those among them who need clinical support. Addressing a teacher sensitization event and launch of the How We Trend project at the Montego Bay Convention Center in St. James last week, Dr. Troop encouraged teachers to tap into the funds.
Colleagues, we have put aside $15 million. This is the third year of it, where you can just call the central office, your regional office, and we put you on to clinicians that are working privately in this country. They don't work with us. We don't know them per se. Your business is private. You need some help. You can't spend your money right now for that because you have other things to do. We have that funding in place for you.
Dr. Kassan Troop, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education and Youth. But the President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, Leighton Johnson, said he was unaware that such a facility existed.
Well, that is something that was a well-kept secret because in many regards, I am not sure teachers knew about this because certainly from the JTA standpoint, we were not aware of it. But notwithstanding that, we welcome this kind of initiative. And if this indeed exists, this is something, again, that will assist in ensuring that our members get the kind of a support that is needed for their overall mental well-being. And it promotes mental wellness. So we welcome this kind of initiative and ask, that to be promoted some more and information be passed on to our members or to teachers in general to access this facility.
Meanwhile, the JTA president says the association has retained the services of a clinical psychologist to assist teachers who show signs of withdrawal, depression, or stress.
They can make contact with the Jamaica Teachers Association or through the regional offices. An appointment is set and our clinical psychologist who the association has retained will call these individuals and set appointments to have the therapy sessions or to go through whatever program or intervention is needed for the teacher.
Leighton Johnson, JTA president, he says the clinical psychology program has been around for roughly 3 years, while the Critical Illness Trust Fund became operational in 2022. Labour and Social Security Minister Pernell Charles Jr. has launched Jamaica's first ever Social Protection for Increased Resilience and Opportunity program, SPIRO. The SPIRO project, according to the minister, is a comprehensive social security initiative that aims to improve system efficiency and unemployment insurance. He says the project is supported by the World Bank.
We achieve another first for Jamaica with the launch of the largest and most robust social security program called the Social Protection for Increased Resilience and Opportunity, the SPIRO project. This project, with the support of the World Bank, aims to accelerate the transformation of our systems for greater efficiency, and it will also introduce the first ever unemployment insurance scheme, among other benefits for our people.
The minister, who was speaking at the 112th session of the International Labour Conference on Tuesday, touted the government's efforts to help the poor and most vulnerable in the society.
We have increased the national minimum wage twice since 2023 by an amount of 66.7%. We have recorded our lowest unemployment rate of 4.2%. Lower than the 5% global average in 2023. We have ramped up skills training and removed all tuition fees in our national training agency, increased pension support up to 76%, and instituted a new social pension program for elderly persons not receiving any government benefit, as well as recording one of the highest post-pandemic labour participation rates of 62.6% in the year 2023.
Parnell Charles Jr., Minister of Labour and Social Security. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Nora Gay Banton. Sports is next.
Plan your tomorrow today. Introducing JMMB's Hello Future Retirement Planning website. Figure out how much you'll need to be set for life with our calculated tools and tips at your fingertips. Visit hellofuture.jmmb.com and start your journey to your dream retirement today. Conditions apply.
Drive Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 5.99% interest rate. Yes, shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 5.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest 5.99%. Conditions apply.
Supercenter, everything for your home and more.
And we mean everything, not just houseware and appliances. At Zan Supercenter, we have furniture too. Furniture for your living room, dining room, bedroom, kitchen, and more. Low on cash? At Zan Supercenter, we have layaway plans. Don't delay. Come in today.
Zan Supercenter, we're gonna make you smile. Zan Supercenter, it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Day 5 at the European Athletics Championships at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome, Italy, produced some stunning world-class performances merely weeks from the big Olympic Games in Paris. In a high-quality men's triple jump final, Spain's Jordan Diaz Fortune, formerly of Cuba, produced the third longest jump in history to win gold with 18 meters 18, also the best in the world this year by miles. Fortune's fellow former Cuban Pedro Pichardo, who competes for Portugal, had to settle for silver despite breaking Jonathan Edwards' 26-year-old European Championship record with a leap of 18 meters 04. Norway's Olympic and 3-times world champion Karsten Warholm set a new championship record on his way to a third straight title. In 46.98 seconds, he beat Alessandro Sibilio of Italy 47.50. The outstanding Dutch Femke Bol won her 4th European title after improving her own championship record in the women's 400 meters hurdles to take gold in 52.49 seconds. This ahead of the improving French woman Louise Maraval, 54.23. The hugely popular Italian world and Olympic champion Gianmarco Tamberi delighted his home fans inside the stadium, including President Sergio Mattarella, to win the men's high jump with 2 meters 31. The women's 200 meters ended in a photo finish, but victory went to Switzerland's Majunga Kumbunje in 22.49, a full 100th of a second ahead of the Brit Daryl Nita, 22.50. Trinidad and Tobago's former world 200 meters champion and former Senator Atto Bolden says Jamaica's medal prospects at the Paris Olympic Games will not be as lucrative as in recent editions. Jamaica won 9 medals at the 2020 Tokyo Games and 8 in Rio de Janeiro in 2016. Bolden sees sprinter Oblique Seville as Jamaica's best chance of winning a medal in the men's sprints.
If you ask me what the Jamaican prospects look like on the men's side, I don't see where you're going to get any 200-meter medals. I think that would be a little bit of a fantasy. But in the 100, what I've seen from Oblique, and I'm yet to see what Blake has for us this month. There's some other Jamaicans, including your national champion from last year, who I think will have something to say this month at the trials. But Oblique looks like Oblique. He looks even better. And what he did to Noah was the best thing he could have done. Look over at him as if to say, oh, really? 4 gold medals in Paris? Really? You're the world champion? What about that? Because that is what's missing from today's game.
Bolden says Jamaicans should temper their medal expectations in the women's 100 meters.
There is not going to be a sweep this year. In fact, I think Jamaican fans should prepare to get 1 medal in the women's 100 in Paris, because I haven't seen Shelley yet. We know Shelley is Shelley. That's my all-time favorite sprinter. But we haven't seen her, and it's June. Julian Alfred is not going anywhere. Sha'Carri is not going anywhere. And I think right now, and it's early, right now you'd be a fool to think that Julian Alfred would lose the 3P. I think you'd be a fool to think that Sha'Carri would lose the 3P. I don't like how Sharika looks, but I'm also not betting against nobody in that MVP camp. There's a reason why they've taken home the last 4 gold medals.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? One coach has won the last 4 100 meters gold medal for women at the Olympic Games. One coach, Stephen Francis, the last 4 100 meters for women has been won by one coach. That's insane. Anyway, Bolden says Jamaica's medals should come from the non-traditional events.
So Jamaica is going to get medals in Paris that I think, triple jump, looks like it. A long jump, looks like it. So Jamaica will get medals in other places, which I think will help their medal count. But I don't know if you're going to be approaching records that have been recently. That's just sports. Injuries play a part.
Atto Bolden. Over 1,500 athletes from 45 schools will descend on the National Stadium for the 3-day GISA Prep Schools Championship powered by GK General Insurance and GK Mutual Funds. And it starts on Thursday. Sponsors GK General Insurance. They've pumped $4 million into the 47th staging. The days will feature 37 events in 3 classes contested by the athletes. Individual athletes will also compete for the coveted Boy and Girl Championship trophy. GK Manager of Insurance, Shaluk Richards, says the meet is one of the incubators for the country's world beaters.
Why is Jamaica so special? Why such a small nation with so few people continuously do so well at athletics? It is because of events like this. It's because of events like the GISA Prep Champs, where our young athletes are able to train and develop and know how to manage under stress. You ever look at our athletes on the field when they're in the Olympics? When others are sweating, nervous, our athletes just look cool as a cucumber. And that's because at this age, right? At this age, you're prepared and you're ready and they know what it is like to compete at the highest stage.
That's Shaluk Richards. And I'd just like to say to one of our YouTubers, Anthony Hutchinson, I do agree, Stephen Francis is as good as any coach in any sport, in the history of sports. Stephen is a genius. 2-time champions, the West Indies, will go in search of their 3rd straight win at the ICC T20 World Cup when they face New Zealand at the Brian Lara Stadium in Tarouba tomorrow. The Windies have already registered wins over Minnows, Papua New Guinea and Uganda, while the Kiwis will go in search of the first win from 2 starts. Veteran cricket commentator Joseph Reds Pereira says he doesn't expect any change from the West Indies side.
Judging from the selection they played against Papua New Guinea and didn't play all that well, and judging from who they played against Uganda, it's now fairly straightforward that they are going to play the same team against a New Zealand side who must also turn their fortunes totally around because they look a shadow of themselves when they played the Afghans at Providence.
Pereira says the Caribbean team must feel confident going into the game and getting a Super 8 spot.
They made a mistake by not bringing in a couple of players. They would have gotten the same results against the African country, and they would have then had options of bringing in different people for the game against New Zealand. But that was not done. They have stuck to 11, and it's difficult for them to change that now, except there is injury. But they have to go into this game as favorites because New Zealand didn't look the side at all, and they must feel confident that New Zealand cannot improve that much to threaten the West Indies in Trinidad. A game both countries badly need to win.
That's Joseph Reds Pereira. And Godfrey in the YouTube page. I agree with you, Godfrey Smith. I agree with you with regards to Oblique Seville not proving himself through the rounds as yet. But who knows? He's more mature. He's stronger now. So let's see what he does in Paris. Let's continue. Pakistan secured their first win from 3 starts, beating Canada by 7 wickets in the ICC T20 World Cup in New York today. Chasing 107 to win, Pakistan reached the target with 15 balls to spare. Opener Mohammad Rizwan was unbeaten on 53, while captain Babar Azam made 33. Guyana-born Dylan Haliger picked up 2 wickets for Canada. The Canadians made 106 for 7 in their 20 overs. Aaron Johnson, 52, captain Saeed bin Safal, 10, and Kaleem Sana, 13, were the only players to reach double figures. Mohamed Amir and Haris Rauf took 2 wickets each for Pakistan. Sri Lanka will take on Nepal tonight at Lauderhill in Florida. That one's set to kick to bowl off at 6:30 Jamaica time. An hour later, we'll have Australia against Namibia. That game set to go off at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua. And we close sports with the nationwide Olympic fact. This one is brought to you courtesy of Rainforest Caribbean.
This is Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Rainforest Caribbean. Make delicious moments.
Did you know that until 1912, first place Olympic medals were made of solid gold? Yes, that's a fact. Possibly one of our favorite facts about the Olympics. Sadly though, it's no longer the case. Recent games have given out around 5,000 bronze, silver and gold medals in total. That's a lot of metal. So instead of being created from solid gold, the heavy first place medals are now covered in 6 grams of the precious metal.
That was Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Rainforest Caribbean. Make delicious moments.
Yeah. Anthony Hutchinson in the YouTube page, I agree with you. I think we really should document Stephen Francis's journey. And it's something that we endeavor to do, all right? So I was just trying to interact while I interact with the people in the YouTube space. They're posing some really nice questions. So even though this is not a talk show, I think, Carlene Smith, I see what you're saying. Yeah, my head is shine. That's fine. All right, that's sports. We're going to be back with more sports tomorrow during the first news of the day at 6.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:22.
Cool loans, selling your 500 grand. Fee buy appliances and electrons. All flexible, payment plan. Yeah, man, a hot cash. Hot. I hope to 500 grand. Yeah, man, a hot cash. $500,000 that make you rich fast. 100 grand fi buy steel and black. 200 fi furniture, laptop. 200 fi keep birthday bash. Yeah, money loan hot. Get a cool loan to purchase all your electronics, furnitures, and appliances at coolmarket.com.
With so much to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills. Fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
It is said most boys in Jamaica live in households led by strong women. But so many women claim the men today are generally weak and lacking in foundation. Lo, these are not words I invented.
Man a man. Man must stand up like man. Man must act like man. Man must behave like man. Man must take decision like man. You weak jellyback. Oh, Jesus have mercy. Me not deal with jellyback man. Me love man, we a man. We stand up like man. We talk like man. We act like man. We behave like man. Man a man.
Who is to be blamed for this failing in fortitude? And if it isn't true, why does this narrative keep getting support from women? Join me, Rodney Campbell, every Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. for Affairs of the Heart, right here on Nationwide 90 FM. This Tuesday's topic: is the Jamaican man still upstanding, or has he lost his spine?
Oh, Jesus, have mercy!
Affairs of the Heart is brought to you by Supermed Pharmacy. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed.
ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC.
Experience Jamaica's Olympic triumphs in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Petrojam E1087 Gas Promotion, serving Jamaica's energy needs.
Veronica Campbell-Brown ensured that Jamaica swept the sprint titles in Beijing, winning the 200 meters final to retain the crown she won 4 years earlier. This was how Jamaica picked up its 11th Olympic gold medal.
And it is a fair start. Veronica Campbell-Brown comes away quickly. So does Karan Stewart. And Allison Felix trying to keep pace. Moodley in the outside lane. Top of the home straightaway. Veronica Campbell-Brown is in front. Another Jamaican shows the way down the home stretch. Allison Felix trying to close. Karan Stewart and Moodley. But it will be Veronica Campbell-Brown to get it. Allison Felix finishing second. The same 1-2 result as Athens.
You just experienced a Jamaican Olympic triumph in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Petrojam E1087 Gas Promotion, serving Jamaica's energy needs.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robianne Williams. A special one to our YouTubers. Thank you for tuning in. Those in Radio Land, thank you for listening. We invite you to weigh in live in the comments section on our YouTube on today's Public Opinion. Now let's get to it. Opposition spokesman on education, Senator Damen Crawford, well, he's proposing that the government increase general consumption tax, GCT, by 1 percentage point and use the revenue to provide additional funds to the education sector. Senator Crawford was speaking over the weekend at the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, JAPS, conference in Trelawney.
For example, a 1% increase in GCT will give us $25 billion. And $25 billion over 400,000 students, that will give you about $67,000 per student. If you are interested in saying, this funding model should be quote-unquote free education, because education has never been free. So the total package of the education includes the uniform. That's not included in the free education. It includes the lunch money. That's not included in free education. So it's not just the policy. The reality is that parents have to pay some contributions to education. But the fee is supposed to be no fee education. That is what we're really at, no fee. So if we're going to do no fee, then it must be subsidized in totality by the government.
All right, Senator Damen Crawford there, opposition spokesman on education. Now, the government, as we know, has pursued a policy of no net new taxes for the last 8 consecutive budget cycles. Now, that move has been considered a significant milestone. But Senator Crawford, well, he's questioning how will new programs for schools be developed if there are no new funds to support them? And I suppose that's part of his basis as it relates to proposing that 1 percentage point the GCT be increased by 1 percentage point and the revenue to be used to provide additional funds to the education sector. Well, in Public Opinion this evening, we're asking, do you agree with Damen Crawford's suggestion to add 1 percentage point to GCT and use the revenue to further fund education?
No, I don't agree with that. Remember that we pay education tax, you understand? And that was the purpose of what the government said they were going to collect the education tax for, to fund education. And see, today we still, so the education is still falling short and tax is still collecting for it. So other than 1%, it's still not going to make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. Education tax will not go directly to education. Go and use it and do other things. So it not make no difference.
No, man. No. It looks like this smart goal in dual allegiance thing is licking out the brains of the PNP. No.
Some very strong no's there coming from that person. Thank you so much for those comments. Now we move to our social media platform where we start on X. J Brown is saying no in all caps, and he's saying cut NHD contributions by 1%, by 1 percentage point, and use that to fund the education budget. Tova Hamilton, and this is the MP Tova Hamilton speaking with her Twitter, that will just serve as an additional burden to current taxpayers. His suggestion should have been to incorporate non-taxpayers into the formal system. All right. Thanks, Jurgen says, absolutely not. No thanks. We were told many years ago that the education tax was to fund education. It is now just put into the General Consolidated Fund. You can give the government an endless income stream and they'll just have more money to waste. Put the education tax back. That's coming from Thanks, Jurgen. Sound Chat Radio says no, consumers are already burdened. Besides, majority of the education budget goes towards teachers. Whoa. All right, so it's time the teachers are held to account for the grades and overall state of education. Edmond is saying not at all. Education in JA is not starved for funds. It needs more teachers who love children and are excited about their jobs. All right, Shower Girl says wait. The taxes, all them talking about. AstraZen21 says no, it is utter rubbish. Why not fix all other loopholes where money sliding from and divert it to education? Sardia says you should ask if his leader agrees. Elon Musk admirer says don't fall for the tax trap. Private figure is saying good idea in theory. Collection and I think this is recollection is where it gets sticky. Or relocation of funds, that's what you're saying. Private figure is saying good idea in theory. Collection and relocation is where it gets sticky. We pay a percentage of our salaries towards education and it gets sent to the consolidated fund where GCT currently goes to spend how the government sees fit. Prudine Gentles is saying absolutely not. What education tax is for? If we're getting our money's worth from our teachers, this would not be an issue. And he's saying that 75% of the education budget, okay, goes to teachers, where there's positive output from this. Oh, he's asking, where's the positive output of this? Marilyn is saying that we should revamp the early childhood curriculum, and anyone who is interested in starting such a business must have enough land space for the introduction of farming to the young minds. Normalize learning a trade at the secondary level. Be the country to have the best tradesmen. All right, a lot of comments coming in, but let me go to our YouTube real quick. Yeah, I'm winning right now. I think it's reallocation. That's what she meant, of course. Thanks for that one. South Coast says Crawford is showing that he is intellectually challenged. Wow, that's a comment coming from South Coast there. Marlene P says some teachers are very lazy. Rose Chin, you're tapping out of this one because you have no idea what the GCT tax is now. So, okay. So you don't feel as though you can offer a comment on this one. All right, Rose Chin. Let me see if I can get Patrick Roy says put back GCT. All right, let me see. Cynthia Matheson said no, teachers need to measure up and do a better job. They are getting good pay now. Okay. Let me see if I can get in some more. Steve Nugent is ringing this one. No new taxes. Glenn says no way, no increase in GCT. Let me quickly go get some of the comments on our Facebook platform real quick. The question we're asking, do you agree with Damen Crawford's suggestion to add 1% to GCT and use the revenue to further fund education? A lot of comments coming in on this one, differing views. Kadia Wright is saying this is crazy. I would love to see what the PNP how the PNP supporters defend this. Marvin Reed says, then if they win, he will say, tricks you. Tina Brown says, don't listen to him. He wants to increase GCT so they can campaign on it. Okay, wow. O'Neill is saying, go with that. That's already education tax. Mark Julius is saying, no, I don't agree. What percentage of the revenue is going to education now? Them want to eat out taxpayers' pocket and make it look like it's education with funding. Nobody no fool again. Radam, that's coming from Mark Julius. All right, Elorita Mitchell says if the millions being allocated not being utilized or managed properly by educators, how are you going to throw more? Schools with good managers are performing. Schools without good management are limping along. Strong views coming in on this one. Godfrey Smith on YouTube says no. And I'm just seeing a lot of no's. I'm seeing a lot of no's to this suggestion coming from Senator Crawford. But that's all the time we have for public opinion. Thank you guys so much for participating. We do appreciate you and your comments. The Business Report is up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:35.
Don't let poor vision hold your children back. IQ Optical gives complimentary standard reflection-free lenses to children and teachers until May 31. Conditions apply.
The temperature by IQ Optical is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 33 out west in Montego Bay. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. The Port of Baltimore shipping channel has fully reopened 11 weeks after the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed when it was struck by a cargo ship. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers said the passageway where the Key Bridge buckled was now safe for transit. The channel has been restored to its original operational dimensions. Now the Dali ship veered into the span on March 26, cutting off the shipping artery and killing 6 construction workers. Crews have had to remove 50,000 tons of wreckage. Now, some 2,000 salvage responders, that should be, including hundreds of specialists from around the world, worked to remove the heap of steel and concrete with the help of a fleet of tugboats and more than a dozen floating cranes. In the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 156 Jamaican dollars and 31 cents to buy $1 US, 199 Jamaican dollars and 83 cents to buy 1 British pound, and 114 Jamaican dollars and 7 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. And that's the Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
For better medication management, use RX Pack mobile app powered by Hauntons RX, the convenient pharmacy. Boost your wellness status and earn 20% in your RX Plus digital wallet for all your Hauntons Pharmacies purchases. Download the RX Pack mobile app in the App Store or the Google Play Store. It is easy, secure, and user-friendly. Call or knowledgeable staff on WhatsApp 876-RX0-RXRX and experience our brand of wellness simply delivered. That's RX Pharmacy, the convenient pharmacy, and RX Pack for better medication management. We deliver everywhere. Terms apply.
To seize opportunities on your business horizon, you need tailored financing solutions from a partner that takes the time to understand your business. Sagicor Investments. We offer mid-sized to large corporations the debt and equity financing solutions they need to drive growth. Backed by the strength of Sagicor Group, one of the largest financial conglomerates in the region, you can be confident that we will deliver. Make your business move with Sagicor Investments. Contact our capital markets unit at 888-SAGICOR.
The Faculty of Law at UWI-Mona invites you to their 10th annual symposium on law, governance, and society, navigating tradition, embracing innovation, and expanding legal frontiers. Attend online or in person at the Iberostar Rose Hall Beach Hotel, Saturday, June 29 and Sunday, June 30. Panel presentations on international law, employment law and AI, environmental law, security transactions, constitutional interpretation, transfer pricing, and more. Register at www.mona.com. ua.edu/law or call 876-550-2680. CLPD credits available.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
My name is Dujan. I come from Appleton Basic School. My Olympic hero is Usain Bolt.
Away cleanly. Bolt has got a very good start indeed.
One of my mottos is that, anything is possible. Don't think limits on that. And I feel that I've proven that throughout the years. I never thought I would be this great at what I've done. But I want to say to the young kids growing up, just live your dream. Work hard, stay focused, and just be strong and just keep on pushing and it will come true. So thank you.
Watch the clock. It's goal for Bolt. And again, he's done it again. A new world record for Usain Bolt.
Stay tuned to the Paris Olympic at Nationwide 90 FM.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
The Oasis is brought to you by Solar Tech Jamaica. We use the gift of the sun to power our world.
Chewy flavor with delight. It really, really nice. May I say it twice?
The time by Jamaica Mountain Peak Golden Turmeric Latte is
6:41.
Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Siobhan.
We are now going to be moving to the nation's business and the matter of public transport, very topical. And today that meeting went well, we're being told, by some of the stakeholders. We're going to be joined by two other stakeholders now, the president of the Association of Hackney and Contract Carriages, Willard Costley, and the president of the Transport Operators Development Sustainable Services, Edgerton Newman. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Cliff. Good evening, Siobhan.
Good.
Good evening.
Well, first of all, we have a clip for you from the president of one of your colleague associations, One Voice Taxi Association, Oscar Finnegan. He described the meeting today a success.
It was an excellent meeting. It is one of the few transportation meetings held with operators and investors and agencies of government. We went through the entire Road Traffic Act and we made several recommendations, and then the recommendation made are going to be presented to the minister, and then we'll hear from the minister. But excellent meeting, and I think that we have gotten somewhere as it relates to the demerit point situation.
So that was Oscar Finnegan. He's the president of the One Voice Taxi Association. So, based on what Mr. Finnegan has said, Mr. Newman, are you in a similar mind? Would you consider today's meeting a success?
First of all, I want to clarify whether Oscar is the president of One Voice or All Voice. I think it is All Voice. I don't think he changed his organization name as yet.
Oh,
but,
so thank you for the correction, sir.
I wanted to join with him, no problem, because I was not at the meeting, but my representatives who were there telling me it was an awesome meeting. All cards were on the table, and the discussion went very well. And it was a consensus-driven meeting. They're going to be going back again shortly before the end of the month, within the next couple of weeks, of course. And, of course, other things will be trashed out, other issues. But today's meeting went very well. I must tell you, Cliff, and that I went to the country. I was a little bit shaky, members of my team, so we went to Manchester to do some good deeds and to apologize to the commuters down there. And when we heard what was going on in the meeting, we felt very well. And I'm sure this is the way we want to go when we have challenges. All persons at the table with the agencies. And, of course, the minister was there for a few minutes. Mm-hmm. And, of course, he really put his card there. And at the end of the day, very good. Very good meeting. And sometimes it takes a little bit of wrapping up the knuckles. And that's what happened yesterday for us to have the right way in terms of discussion, and the discussions, as I understand, went very, very well today. Kudos to the agency.
Okay. Mr. Costley, are you singing from the same sheet?
Yes, good afternoon. And
good evening
to your listeners. I endorse all that Mr. Finnegan has said, because I myself was at the meeting, and we're satisfied with the development and the outcome of the meeting. And as he said, that the issues will be presented to the minister, who will look at it and make his comment, and then thereafter we. But what I can say to the industry, that they were well represented today, and they can, if they are still off the work, they can go back to work, because what we did was really satisfactory for the industry.
Could you give us some specifics as to why the meeting was such a success, Mr. Costley?
All right. I'll go this far because I do not want to speak before the minister, but what I can tell you is that, as Mr. Finnegan said, we have gone through the whole demerit issues, and we have dealt with it. And I'd prefer to allow the minister to speak first before we get into depth. I don't want to...
Well, he did speak with us, He did speak with us in our cover story.
Yeah, but I reckon he did not tell you he said that he got a report. He's going to look at it. And I don't want to say something that he may have some changes about. Mm-hmm. So I prefer to let him talk first, and then we can debate the rest, the differences, the left and the right of what we discussed.
But then can I put it this way? What were the recommendations put forward by the taxi operators, or I should say the PPV operators, regarding the demerit system?
Well, the problem that they have was dealt with. The problem that they have, all of them, we go from one right down to the last one, and they were all dealt with. They were all dealt with. That was something. Decision was made on every point.
Mm-hmm. And there was consensus on every point.
On every point. Yeah.
Oh.
And I want to know that some serious and some bitter left to right, left and right punch was going there, but we actually arrived at a conclusion.
Oh. You know, Mr. Costley and Mr. Newman, I'm worried when all of you agree,
No, don't
I'm
worry.
worried. It means that we the commuting public, we are in trouble.
No. Chris, I thought he was going to say, we the media houses will have no headlines.
No.
I can assure you.
One at a time. Mr. Costley and then Mr. Newman.
Yes, and what I can assure you, what we did is in interest of public transportation in general, and PPV in particular. Right? So nobody, the general public is not going to suffer any effect on it. We make sure to take them in consideration. Mm. And I guarantee that they will like it. Oh. There's not much that we have to tell. We would like to explore, but we're giving the minister the opportunity to at least look at it, satisfy himself, and then when he breaks, then we can do the deal, the details after.
Mr. Newman?
One of the awesome suggestions made at the meeting that was take into consideration was the matter of bus stops, where we have a challenge to in terms of stopping and sitting down and picking up. And now the name bus stops, I understood, will now be changed to PPV stops. That worth $1 million, because we could not stop at a bus stop as a taximan. You have to stop 40 feet from a bus stop. Now the bus stop's name, it is suggested, will be changed to PPV stops.
Okay.
That is good news for the taxi operators, not just in KMTR, but right across Jamaica, where we never have a taxi stop.
Yes.
And now we have a PPV stop.
Yes.
I think that's an excellent
So
move
all
by the
public passenger vehicles can now stop at the bus stops.
Absolutely.
Oh,
That is what's on the table.
that's major.
Major.
And it has removed a major contentious issue.
Absolutely, sir.
Oh,
But we have to monitor that though, because 83 bus stop in Harbour Tree. Have mercy when the long bus come and many taxi want to stop there also. So we have to monitor some things that make some adjustment. But
yes.
I think it's a major one for the team.
Okay.
But what about compromise on the part of the operators, Mr. Newman? Was there any agreement in terms of maintaining a certain standard in terms of how you operate on the roads? Because one thing I think a lot of people are afraid of is that an agreement between you and the minister will mean, although the minister said otherwise, a watering down in terms of the road traffic regulations.
I would prefer my colleague Costley respond to that, because he was actually in the meeting. I was like a fly on the wall and utilizing technology. But yes, there were several compromises. I want to think so I can be specific, but there has to be compromise in this meeting today to reach the consensus that we reach.
So, Mr. Costley?
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Costley. What were the compromises
as
there?
I said, we dealt with everything, including what you just asked about, and we have put a resolution to it, and the minister will speak about it.
Okay, very well. But then let me put another question to you. It seems that you had quite a successful meeting, as you put it. The minister has also agreed with that. Why did it have to come to a withdrawal of service for that to happen?
I am not aware, because as far as I'm concerned, is that I think, as the minister said, is that preempt. It was a discussion. The meeting was set for today, and apparently patient went out. That's all I can say. Patient went out.
Patients went out?
Right.
Oh.
I mean, some people tend to say that they cannot believe, because over the years, say you're going to do things and nothing going. And then in the same token, while they are waiting, people are losing their lives and all of these things. So you can understand.
Yes. Yeah.
So I can say that I'm happy that there was nothing major that happened, right, in the yesterday to today. But I think that Emmanuel should be going out to work tomorrow and looking forward for it. Things change.
Okay, so we should see the end of the withdrawal of service come tomorrow.
Well, I do. We should. And I hope, and what I would say, I would take the opportunity to say to all operators who is on demonstration or was on demonstration or still on demonstration, you can go back to work, but we ask you kindly to be responsible and act in the context of the rules of the road. Because if you continue to operate the way you're operating, you're only going to make it look bad on all of us.
And just to add to that, is that we want to apologize to the commuting public for what happened yesterday, and we urge them. We say to them, come tomorrow. It's business as usual. As a matter of fact, it was from this morning, and we continue the same way. Come tomorrow to provide that service that they so badly need, both in the corporate area and in the rural areas. Cliff, it cost me It cost my team over $800,000 a day to give away to commuters, because they were really on our back. And we give them 18 coaster bus and 44 taxis. Got free, the passengers got free rides, Spalding, Christiana, Santa Cruz, Montego Bay, courtesy of our chaplain this morning. Just a word of apologies to them, because of what happened yesterday.
So you gave them that as a...
We gave them cash, free ride, yes.
Oh. Mr. Newman and Mr. Costler, I don't know which of the two of you is better placed to take this one. We heard today from InDrive, the ride-sharing app, that listening, they basically said, listen, it's not me, it's not us. Where the killing and the abduction and killing of Miss Anglin is concerned. And they are now prepared to work with the authorities, they say, yes, to ensure that there's no repeat of any incident of assault or violence. Your reaction?
Where I'm concerned,
yes,
if they are in Jamaica and they're in Jamaica illegally, the government, I'm not even going as far as the police now, I'm going further than that. The government of Jamaica is trying to get in touch with InDrive without success. Right? And to the extent now, we are hearing that something happened, and they are now coming after 3 weeks, I think, still trying to get in touch, and they are not able to get them. How can they tell me now that they were doing the right thing? So I'm saying I am not undermining what they said. What I will do is wait, because we have some investigators here who can tell you, who are cyber professionals, and they will know if they wipe the tape before they call them. And that is what my conclusion. If they can clean up their act, there will be residue. And our investigators would be able to say whether or not they actually did. Right? So I still hold waiting for the pudding. I'm expecting our police officers who have the training, the technology training, will check and do the thing. Same like how they can go on every other case and know who, when, what, where, what was said and how. Then, and same like how they can use that technology to find the lady. Then I think they'll use the technology to find out if InDrive wipe the tape before calling them. Gentlemen, I am surprised as a Cosley is about this statement by InDrive. My checks show me over the past maybe 13, 14 months, 11 cases against InDrive. None of them has gone as far as maybe to police going the distance that they went on this young lady. But we know several InDrive persons been abducted, commuters being abducted, been taken away, carried to various places from campus. I have on my thing 11 cases, but they are preliminary cases because nobody dealt with them, and to the extent that we have this big announcement. But InDrive, they should be ashamed of themselves. They know they have been involved, and nobody wants to come to the fore until the highest authority in the police force dig into this one. And whether they're wrong or right, InDrive was at fault. And therefore, we are happy. Mr. Cartel is more happy than I, because Mr. Cartel members now can go on campus. And they could not go on campus before because of InDrive people. They just use their white and go on campus and take it and reduce the income of the local operators. And so, I think they must come to the table now, present the documentation to the Transport Authority, the Ministry of Transport, and let's have them and welcome them to Jamaica. Let them do business as we are doing business.
Before we run out of time, Mr. Newman, Mr. Costley, I would like to ask you, have you been called on by the Minister or the Transport Authority to comment on these regulations as it relates to these ride-hailing services in terms of your input. And as part of those recommendations, would you believe that at least some attempt to regulate the pricing for these ride-sharing services must be considered, considering your prices are regulated as well?
Of course. Last week, Thursday, with the Transport Authority and P-Step and the Island Traffic Authority, we sat down for a good deal of time and discussed with the ride-sharing groups, especially those in Jamaica. You know, two of those groups are part of my association. So we had a frank discussion, and there are other groups who are coming on board, ride-sharing groups, that we didn't even know about locally that are now on board. And I asked the question, are there any other international-based ride-sharing groups that are here in Jamaica, and we don't know about them? And of course, I think the Transport Authority put out some very tough announcement. Well, I shouldn't say tough, but some announcement calling them to come to the table immediately. You know, so yes, we have been at the table having discussion as local transport operators along with the ministry agencies on the matter of ride-hailing, not ride-sharing, ride-hailing.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Edgerton Newman. Go ahead.
What I would say, there is no problem who want to come in the market, but I do not expect. I recall when I went to at least check on undercover and check on one, and when they tell me the criteria was that they come in and using a particular insurance company, which I won't call their name, and to facilitate them as a way around the system. And when I brought this to and this one I'm going to call the regulator. They said, put it in writing. I put it in writing, and I have not heard from them yet. I have not heard from them. So it's not a question that we are not proactive here, right? So the fact is that I'm praying, and this is what I'm praying, that this minister who is listening to us would understand our plight, and when we bring it to the government, that he will act. He should, that he is intending to act, and I hope that he'll act, because we cannot have people, you call them aliens by night, coming to Jamaica, creating situation, and then leave us to suffer the consequences. I am not going to stand and have that out. I will fight as long as I'm in the industry. All
right. You call them aliens by night and what by day?
Well, they come.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. You don't have to answer that question, you hear. Willard Costley, President of the Jamaica Association of Hackney and Contract Carriages, and Edgerton Newman, President of the Transport Operators Development Sustainable Services. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Good. After the break, the opposition spokesman on education, Senator Damen Crawford, he's saying to the government, increase the general consumption tax by 1 percentage point and use the proceeds, approximately by his estimate, $25 billion, to pump into education. After the break.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
The mission of the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs includes revising Jamaica's legal and constitutional infrastructure and accelerating the pace of reform. The time by the MLCA is 7:02.
Touching lives every day, so many different ways, a part of all you do. Sagicor will make you feel secure, reaching out for more, we'll always see you through. Reach for more, whatever you're dreaming, whatever your goals, will help you achieve them. You're never alone. Taking care of today's needs, take care of tomorrow's dreams. Every day helping you succeed, that's what Sagicor means. Today's needs, tomorrow's dreams. Sagicor.
Optimist International Jamaica Kingston presents Classics in June 2024, Sunday, June 16 at the Yui Chapel, starting at 5 p.m. Artists include Stephen Woodham, Yuko Aoki, and Rafael Salazar. Cost $3,500. Tickets available at Music Mart and all Monarch Pharmacy locations. Sponsors include Chase Fund, Kingston Freeport Terminal, Nationwide News Network, VM Group, and Vinci Construction.
Good evening. Welcome back to the cover story, and we're into the third and final hour where we.
But by the way, we should tell our listeners it's a Tuesday evening, and we would normally be having Nature's Remedies with our pharmacognosist, Dr. Denise Daly. Unfortunately, we will not be having this week's edition of Nature's Remedies. Dr. Daly is on assignment and won't be able to join us this evening, but she'll be back with us next Tuesday evening at the same time. So for all the Nature's people, yes, don't worry. Dr. Daly will be back here with all your remedies come next Tuesday. Siobhan?
Okay, well, we press on nonetheless, and we have with us the Opposition Spokesman Education, Senator Damen Crawford, and he'll be speaking regarding a statement made this afternoon, well, not this afternoon, but made earlier, regarding his proposal that the government increase the general consumption tax, that's GCT, by a single percentage point and use the revenue to provide additional funds to the education sector. Senator Crawford was speaking on the weekend at the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, JAPS, conference in Trelawney.
For example, a 1% increase in GCT will give us $25 billion. And $25 billion over 400,000 students, that will give you about $67,000 per student. If you are interested in saying, this funding model should be quote-unquote free education, because education has never been free. So the total package of the education includes the uniform. That's not included in the free education. It includes the lunch money. That's not included in free education. So it's not just the policy. The reality is that parents have to pay some contributions to education. But the fee is supposed to be no fee education. That is what we're really at, no fee. So if we're going to do no fee, then it must be subsidized in totality by the government.
Senator Damen Crawford. Well, he joins us now. Good evening, Senator Crawford.
All right, good evening, Cliff and team. How are you doing?
We're good. Siobhan is my co-host.
Siobhan, how are you?
Good evening, Sir Crawford.
All right.
Nature's Choice, people recommend eggs, good nutrition and protein.
And I will send you a bill for that. You know, he's an egg farmer.
Yes, very much so. A very successful one at that, I understand.
I'm going to ask upstairs to prepare the invoice. Yeah? So, Senator Crawford,
yes.
You're proposing that the government, a government that has heralded a no net new taxes for the last 8 consecutive fiscal years, yes? Mm-hmm. To go against that and increase the GCT from 1 percentage point. Why?
Well, just today I've been in a conversation with the Jamaica Teachers Association where you acknowledge that the vast majority of the budget to education goes to salaries. The recurring expenses.
Are you having us on a speakerphone? Why you're sounding like you're in?
Actually, no. Are you hearing me well?
Yes. Go a little closer to the.
Okay,
yes.
Good. All right. So salaries, the recurring expenses of electricity, water rate, and then a very minimal amount to even refurbishing. So there's very little funding in the education budget for projects or improvement, for activities such as socialization of students, etc. And so therefore, I was indicating to the principals that if there is a commitment to no new taxes, then equally there is a commitment to no new program. And at this time, education is in great need of new programs.
But then, are you creating an education tax number 2? We already have an education tax.
Well, the total amount of money received in revenues goes to the different priorities of the government. Indeed, most people that speak to an education tax would accept that the education tax is not sufficient to fund education. There is a extreme supplementation of the education tax for the funding of education.
But is it that the whatever we collect for the education tax goes to education, or it gets into the general revenue?
It goes into the general, but because the total is above the education tax, then even if you said it is education tax plus some addition. So if they educate, remember we are at what? I think it's $120 billion for education, $160 billion. The education tax is nowhere near that, and so therefore, when you collect the education tax, it's supplemented. So everything goes to central, and then the government decides how to spend. But the education tax isn't being used to subsidize any other activities since it is less than the education needs.
But Senator Crawford, where I'm going, is we have these policies that we articulate on paper, but we don't really follow them. I remember very clearly when the education tax was being marketed to the people of Jamaica. And it has not happened. Why do you think, even if they were to go with this idea of years of generating 1 percentage point more in GCT, $25 billion more, what will be done differently to ensure that those $25 billion go into education?
The government that is elected and the minister that is then selected are committed to education. Again, I go back to your argument just this morning with the JTA president. The ministry has lamented that they have put in e-books that are not being used. However, the minister about a month ago indicated that the ministry distributed 10,000 laptops to secondary schools this year, when the age cohort in the secondary schools is about 240,000. So that's less than 5%. So to use e-books in a class where the students don't have a laptop, or to use e-books in a class where they don't have internet access, is impossible to be done. So you can't say go to page 47 when you don't have a projector even. So that investment becomes necessary if we're going to change education. And what we're seeing currently is that we have a need for socialization intervention to reduce violence, a need for literacy intervention to increase and improve literacy and numeracy, and the need to ensure that 50% of our schools are not below 30% to get 5 subjects. We have schools in Jamaica that have a 1% chance.
We're going to come to that, Senator Crawford, but what I really want to hear you on as a legislator, what would you propose differently by law, which is what you have the power to do, to ensure that every dime collected goes into education?
We have the example of the fiscal rules, and we could have a agreed fiscal rule, a law in Parliament that X% of the budget should go to education. But when you use a percent of GDP, that don't necessarily cover the cost of the activity. Our listeners should understand that each high school is getting $17,000 per child for the year. If it is that we were to get $25 billion more, it will allow for an additional $62,000 per child, and that is at both secondary and primary levels. So it is where we are, where primary school is getting $11,000 for the year. How can we expect, and I must be clear that that doesn't include salaries for the teachers, but that is for all the programs that the school have, including the water rate, including the light bill. So you have many schools that are incapable of doing proper homework sessions, that are incapable of offering proper clubs and societies, especially without fees. And so therefore, I believe that we could have that law. But I am one who feels that the politician should be held to account by the voter, and if not satisfied by the commitments, then the voters vote. But these laws takes away the democratic process of
But then,
people.
Senator Crawford, we have a situation where we have a crisis in our democracy. Every 5 years, people go to the polls, and fewer of them are doing so. Which is for another discussion.
The outcome of withdrawal is for the person who withdraw to bear. So if the persons are intending on not participating and then complaining, that is really the negatives or the positives is for them to bear. I don't have any brief to hold for those persons who choose to participate in that way.
Senator Crawford, this matter of I'm not sure what to call it, but this increase in GCT in order to fund education, aren't you concerned that that is not exactly a winning message with the electorate in terms of just generally increasing taxes in any way?
I remember that there was a demonstration in East Rural that said pick me don't vote and education can am. And I still continued with those principles and policies. So my commitment to education is clear. There is a part of the budget that is called discretionary, that the government have discretion over to choose to spend in the way that the government desires. And currently that discretionary has not been used to fund education in a way that can show any true changes. We have been stuck at 17 or 18% of our students getting 5 subjects in school in math and English. We are in a position that the police force is now accepting accounting because so few people are passing mathematics. We are in a situation where we have schools with 82% reading at the pre-primary level and they're in the secondary education. So if it is that we will continue to fear to lose an election instead of continue to fear to fail at policy, then we are in trouble as a society.
Senator Crawford, I'm with you on that score, definitely. Yes? We don't speak and articulate clear thinking as to how we are going to improve the educational outcomes of our students, whether they are at 11 years old, 12 years old, or 16, 17 years old. And part of the issue I've been an advocate for the last 20 odd years while I do this thing, we have got to get all the critical stakeholders, not only the teachers who dominate the policy-making process now in education, but where are the parents? Hold on, let me finish. Let me, and I will answer. Where are the parents?
Yes.
Where are the captains of industry who have to receive and employ the products of the education system? And we are suffering in our various places of employment because we get the products. We see the lack of numeracy. We see the lack of literacy for our business, the lack of ability to write. Yeah? We see that. Yeah? You speak of the socialization that's not happening. We are feeling it. Yeah? The lack of attention to detail. But our voices are not being heard because the policy-making process, because of history and the formation of the JTA from the late 50s into the 1960s, they have supplied the country with ministers of education over the years. Yes? They have been an integral part of the politics. They are at the table. There are standardized meetings where the JTA has to be represented. Yes? But we are not having the other stakeholders who can act as a counter to not only the interests of teachers who have notoriously over the last 10, 15 years resisted attempts to hold them more accountable.
Well, first of all, Cliff, I beg to disagree because if the JTA was so influential, then why is it that after every negotiation the JTA is disappointed with the outcome? So
good question. Good question. You know why?
Yes.
Huh? Put your mind to it and think about it.
I'm putting my mind to it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think about
politics.
No, but if they're disappointed, then they're not.
Politics.
For example,
they play the politics too.
The Jamaican teacher's salary is, I think, currently 8th in the Caribbean or 7th in the Caribbean. They are not overpaid. They're not paid greater than anyone because of their political influence. But policy often ignore these teachers. Policy ignore them currently, for example, with the e-books. They were not consulted on how e-books should be or what should be done from that conversation.
But in terms of salaries, though, Senator, we went through in this country a long period of austerity where we had several wage freezes. Yes?
And they accepted those.
They accepted those. But in accepting those, just the point you make them about being the 8th best paid in the region, we fell behind. And we're now trying to catch up. We fell behind, not only for teachers, but nurses, the doctors, the policemen. We'll make the same argument.
So you're confirming then that the teachers are not those to be blamed to be unwilling to participate in sacrifices for the education outcome?
No, it's not. I'm not saying that they're unwilling. They have resisted. They have been resisting to being held accountable.
Well, let me answer the accountability question. Because I too
it's only like the president of the
very
JTA.
Little control over the policies and the outcomes. If it is that I am instructed what to do as a principal, that I have to offer all these courses when my students can't read, when my entrants are of low levels of productivity, when my students have not ate on multiple occasions. I remember teaching mathematics, and when it's a pi r square, them stuck at the pi, then I eat from morning. R square is insignificant to that student. When the books are not available, neither on rental or otherwise, when chronic absenteeism is created by crime, weather, lack of accessibility to local infrastructure, I am unwilling. So if you look at, for example, chronic absenteeism, 21 days, 3/4 of the Jamaican students miss 21 days. And if I'm teaching a child quadratic equation when he missed factorization, he'll never learn quadratic equation. If I'm teaching him vectors when he missed trigonometry, he'll never learn vectors. And he missed ratio, he missed trigonometry because there was a war in his community, or because there was a rain that he couldn't cross the place without a bridge. So the teachers are saying that there's not a linear relationship between teacher effort and student outcome. And by extension, the way that they are seeking to apply, quote-unquote, being held to account is not reasonable and is not fair. And I agree with those teachers.
But Senator Crawford, I recall, and this is quite a while back, but I recall when a statement was made by a former Minister of Education, Ronald Thwaites, regarding the need for varying teacher salary based on need in the education system. That did not go down well with the teachers.
He was incorrect. And many other ministers of education have been playing the who stole the cookie from the cookie jar. Because everybody's saying, who, me? Couldn't be. It must be number 5 stole the cookie. The policy directions of this country is based on the government. And the governments have not done enough. I have been to Benham Town High School to help with mathematics. And when I got here 10 o'clock on a Monday, the child had her head on the desk. What's wrong with you? The rest of the class. Sir, she have gas. You have gas? Yes, sir, buy her a soda. Now, no matter the quality or caliber of teacher, what can you do? I've been teaching before.
But Senator Crawford, I have to challenge that.
Yes.
You tell me of a period in which we have never had poverty as expressed in those experiences you are making reference to. Yes?
I can't.
We have always had it. We have always, hold on. Yes? When I used to go to Chetola Park Primary School on the border of Hannahtown and Jonestown, yes, we had classroom sizes of 55, 60. Yeah? We had to share desks. Yes? And in those classrooms, many of us had some minty and a crackers, if we were lucky, yeah? And lunchtime, you go buy a fritters.
Yes.
Yes? We were having hunger pains as well. We were suffering. We didn't come from households where we didn't have the pain of hunger. Yeah? But you know what we had?
Yes.
We had some teachers. We had a system that was working. Teachers who were committed. Let me finish. Teachers who were committed. Yeah? And they would insist, yes, that you got to learn. no matter what.
Please.
We have lost that.
I'm challenging you on that. Because first of all, in those days, the performance were not good either. In those days, so few of us passed the common entrance that our names came in the newspaper. The vast majority went to secondary schools that never even got to sit the CXC. They did the SSC. In those days, literacy were lower than even in these days. So while it is that we all love to celebrate those days when we saw a 3 square and a circle and never know which one was different, we had mainly secondary schools for which students were incapable to pass common entrance.
So therefore,
in those days, mathematics passes were not above the 17% that we're having currently, 5 subjects including math and English. So it wasn't that they were great days and it has depreciated. What has happened is that there's greater concern for that depreciation. But there are teachers out there, I can tell you, that use their own salaries for subsidizing students' lunch needs. There are teachers out there that is going out there to photocopy homework from the books that's supposed to be on rental from the government. There are teachers out there that are buying all manner of things to help their classes. The problem is that the social circumstances, such as access to alcohol, access to drugs, gambling, have all increased, and the social interventions have decreased.
Mm-hmm.
What is the inflationary impact on the PATH program?
Hold on, Dodo, Senator. What are we talking about? We're talking about a systemic problem where our educational outcomes are way below what is acceptable.
Yes.
Yeah? Given how much we spend on education in this country.
No, sir. We are one of the lowest spenders on education.
No, regionally we are on par.
No,
As a percentage of GDP, we are on par.
I can't go down to Benz and say I'm giving you 80% of my income for the vehicle.
So what else can you use? What else can you use?
What is the cost of a reasonable level of education?
No. But what else can you use as a measurement?
What else can you use?
Yes.
The cost of education. It has been indicated from studies that $8,000.
And that cost is expressed in?
It don't have to be relative to anything.
It has to be.
But Senator Crawford.
Is the cost, one second, let me make a point. The cost of a BMW isn't relative to my salary. It is the cost of a BMW. So therefore, if it is that our GDP is $10 and we put $1 and say, oh, we are the same as the man whose GDP is $500 and he puts $50. Not the same, because $50 will automatically create better outcomes.
But where are you going to get them? But where are you going to get the resources if you don't produce?
I just indicated one way. Because if we are committed to education, it would take X amount. You can't say there is no fee as a policy and then only give $17,000 to a school per child for the year. In 10 months, that's $1,700 for the school to ensure that this child that never had a proper start. Just last year, the principals were writing that they were given 3 days of money for PATH program lunches. 3 days. Chronic absenteeism is 21 days. That means if the child is supposed to not come to school on those 2 days, there is an issue. And
the incidence of absenteeism is what?
What's the reason for absenteeism?
The incidence of absenteeism in the system. 21 days for how many of our children? How many of the 800,000?
21 days, Cliff.
How many what?
More than 40% of the Jamaican students are missing 21 days, are in chronic absenteeism.
Per year?
Per year, yes. Rain days, crime days, taxi strike days, hungry days. What do you mean? There are many in the rural areas that don't go on a Friday because that is farm day.
And that has been historical.
Right? So therefore, when the teacher is to be held accountable, the teacher is saying that how do you qualify those scenarios that have created this situation? How do you qualify when the Ministry of Education celebrates 10,000 computers coming into the school system when the total cohort is 240,000? How do you rectify getting e-books when we don't have e-systems, we don't have laptops in classes? How do you rectify where a school asked for 35 math book and got 8? How do you rectify those when the ministry acts in those ways?
But certainly,
let me
Senator
give you another
Crawford.
example, Cliff. There's a school in St. James. I won't call the name of the school. They called me to help this last year in mathematics. The students in 5th form did not have a math teacher from 3rd form. The PE teacher was filling in for discipline, not teaching math. In 3rd form, 4th form, now they're in 5th form. They're sitting CXC. How do you hold that 5th form teacher accountable for what she had no input nor impact in assisting?
There's a way of doing it, you know. There's a way of doing it. There's a way of doing it. And the Patterson report spoke to it. Yes, the value added. Because we know not all students are going to enter, at the same level and with the same set of socioeconomic circumstances. But there's a thing called value added that we measure. It is measurable. And it has been mooted that, hold on, the schools, yes, who get not the cream of the crop.
Right.
Yes, they don't get the cream of the crop. They get those who are averaging 40-50% on the PEP or what was GSAT. Yes? And you use that as your baseline to measure the value added over the 3-5 years that those children are in that environment, in that space.
I'm indicating to you, Cliff, that the availability of teachers is not a school priority. It's not a school problem. It is a policy problem. Is there a teacher retention plan, even though in the last 2 years we have lost over 1,000 teachers or more each year? Have you heard of a teacher retention
What did
plan?
you say?
And should that be? Because if a school don't have a teacher,
what do you mean the schools
years,
don't have a teacher retention plan? I don't understand that.
The government has not put forward a teacher retention plan, even though in the last 2 years we have lost over 1,000 teachers per year. Even though there's a recruitment of our teachers.
Why do we have schools, leaders, principals, boards, grade supervisors, administrators, and they're given a budget?
To put in a teacher retention policy?
Yes. Or you run a school without teachers. You can't run a school without teachers.
The country can't keep the teacher, Cliff.
But hold on, the Minister of Education, makes policy at the national level, but at the school level, it has to be leadership and guidance.
Is not a school
Senator,
problem.
you have to be careful, Be careful that you are prescribing and ascribing to government what is an impossibility.
Let me give you
No. Hold on. Governments, ministers, permanent secretaries can't stay at Hero Circle and run your school, my school.
Nobody's asking for that.
You have to put in place, and we have.
I'm saying the government must put in place an environment that cause our teachers to be more likely to choose Jamaica.
And they do choose Jamaica.
The best of our schools.
They do choose Jamaica.
The most excellent
the overwhelming majority choose Jamaica.
And I'm saying that increasingly, at the margins, we are short. And when you're short at the margin, it affects those that are most in need. Because when KC loses a teacher, it goes across the road and lures away the one from Holy Trinity, leaving Holy Trinity with a hole. And Holy Trinity is saying, how can I therefore be measured when I have a 5th form cohort that did not have a teacher for 2 years?
But certainly, Senator Crawford, at the end of the day, that boils down to a simple, raw fact of monetary incentive. And
not just monetary incentives.
Then what other incentives? Such as?
There are other incentives, such as, for example, home ownership incentives.
Which has been done.
Recently, the Prime Minister...
No, but Senator Crawford, I have to challenge you on that because successive governments have put in place housing incentives for all manners of public sector workers.
Let's listen for a second. Which was removed by the Prime Minister recently for that special 1%. But there's also...
No, Senator, it wasn't removed. It was extended. What do you mean removed? It was extended to all other categories of people.
Of it being removed. But I'm saying to you, sir, there are also other methods. For example, that for teachers, if you stay in the system, you could get an additional amount from NHD that transform into a normal mortgage when you leave the system. So many banks have done that to give special rates on the last 10 million, the last 15 million. If you leave the bank, it's no longer 4%, it's now 9% or whatever the average, the real rate is. You can get, for every 5 years, a motor vehicle concession of 5% reduction. So therefore, if it's 100% for bringing the car, you get 5% off that for 5 years. 10 years, they get another 5%. That is a strategy. You can have, as we have seen with the police stations, for a real revamping of the environs that the teachers are facing.
But Senator Crawford, to give the full picture, though, you know, Jamaica has had a problem of people migrating for years.
Not to this level, Chris. Not to this level.
But on this level, hold on, let me finish. No, let me finish. Because the world, the global village, is experiencing a shortage of teachers. Yes? Several countries are going through what we are. Yes? Not only here in the Caribbean, but outside of the Caribbean as well.
Correct.
Yes? So it's not a problem unique to Jamaica. Yeah? Right. Nor because of any particular failure of government in Jamaica. No. In fact, we have been, over the last, 2 years, the salaries have improved.
Significantly.
Significantly.
And we have many other problems. You have an inflation problem, government have a duty of intervening. There is
an inflation problem, Senator. Inflation has moderated in Jamaica over the last 10, 15, certainly 10, 12 years. For the first time in many, many years, inflation has moderated.
I will come back and speak to the accumulated impact of inflation over the last 4 years on the income of the Jamaicans. But I want to make a point, which is about the teachers. I'm saying that in California, for example, with teacher shortage, they have now implemented from the government side, we will pay your student loan. We're offering scholarship. In Britain, I understand that they're offering relocation grants. Governments have stepped up and intervened to attract teachers, and by extension, removing some of ours. It is therefore important for our government to intervene to retain teachers. It cannot be that the government, who is a chief employer of teachers, absolve themselves of a duty because a problem now exists. The problem that exists demands a retention plan to reduce the migration push that is happening for our teachers,
and
including foreign affairs intervention, to speak to the United States, to speak to Britain, to encourage them to invest in training additional teachers on their behalf, instead of taking the ones that we're training for ourselves. None of those have been reported in the media. So therefore, with no teacher retention plan, I believe is a failure on the part of the government to compete for the retention of the 1,300 that are leaving.
So if tomorrow you are the Minister of Education, tell me what you'll be doing in terms of the several...
Well, first thing, we will have to see greater funding for education, and that's what I was discussing. But most importantly...
the 1% increase in GCT.
I think that will be a start, or at least be committed to transferring that 25 billion from other activities like renting places down in Mandeville. But
so you're going to put on another
400 million though, Senator, not 25 billion.
But to use the discretionary fund or to increase the funds available, because we need funds.
No, what do you mean by discretionary?
No, hold on, Senator. You can't just
move into this term discretionary fund. What is the discretionary fund that you're referring to?
When you have a budget, you have some money that you have to spend regardless of who's in power. That includes the debt, that includes the salaries. After that is discretionary spending, meaning the government decides over that what it does with it. So therefore, if I am in government, the only money that I have to do anything different from Andrew Holness is the money that isn't for debt and not for salaries. And that is the
But that would be things, for example, for the Spark program, for the PATH program extension, and other issues that affect the Jamaican people.
The public health sector.
So my question is, Senator Crawford, what would you sacrifice for education?
That's an unreasonable question.
That's not an unreasonable question, Mr. Crawford.
You have to make a choice.
What would you give up for education in terms of budgetary allocation?
I would give up an arm.
That is not an answer, Senator Crawford.
What do you mean, what would I give up? I'm saying to you that I've heard of
So
farm
what
road
part of the government's arm or life or leg would you give up to fund education?
Well, first, give me a chance to answer. You can ask me a question.
All right, go ahead, Senator Crawford.
Right? I am saying to you that if I had the discretionary budget, my priority would be education. It means, therefore, that if spark has to be reduced, because education is my priority, then the spark might be for the construction of classrooms to take off the 32 schools that are on.
So no fixing of community roads.
Just give me a chance.
No, but that's what you're suggesting, right, Senator Crawford? That we have to say no fixing of community roads.
It's more important to take the 32 schools that are on shift, off shift, because 60,000 girls have been made pregnant in the last 10 years under the age of 60. And a great contributor is to be home in the communities with the vagrants for society when the other adults are not present. I therefore believe that if I have a choice between a pothole and a pregnant teenager, I will choose to seek to alleviate the problems of the pregnant teenager. I've also heard about farm road projects, which is important. I've never heard of a school road project to increase access to schools. What we have
Wouldn't the Spark Road fixing of community roads address
schools
that?
are on those roads.
You tell me how many school roads are in that, right? I've seen on recent TikTok where the girls are saying to get to school, they have to cross a river. Government spending.
Wouldn't fixing a bridge then or building a bridge be part of the Spark program?
Priority in education, and then seek to transfer the blame from that priority to the teachers who have no resources. Teachers don't have a proper whiteboard to write on. Many are buying Formica to make them own whiteboard. Teachers don't have a proper software for usage in the classroom, smart boards. Teachers not getting the books that they need. Oh, we buy $2 billion of e-books. We need $5 billion more because you don't have the majority of rental books that have been asked to be available.
So why are they not making use of it?
What?
Why are they not making use of the e-books that Kassan Troop spoke to?
The e-books cannot be used if the student don't have a laptop in class. How would I point you to page 27 when you don't have a laptop in front of you?
Then let me put it to you, Senator Crawford. Wouldn't then part of that discretionary funding be for programs, for example, the broadband system that is being rolled out across the country to address those matters of lack of internet access in schools?
Ask me how I'm not using something now and then say that you are putting something in place that should allow me to use it in the future. Because most schools don't have access to this quote-unquote internet that they speak of.
And most of the children do have their iPads.
But that forms part of the discretionary spending, Senator.
The minister made heavy weather of 10,000 for 240,000, 10,000.
So
heavy weather of less than 5%.
So Senator Crawford, you're going to increase the GCT by 1% to get $25 billion.
No.
And then you're going to spend it on education. And then you are going to prioritize education.
Don't put final say in my hands when I don't have it. What I'm saying.
But your proposal, we said if you were sitting in government and you were the education minister,
is to find 25 billion more as a start for segmented funding, so that the same 17,000 that goes to Campion doesn't stop and end over by Damen Crawford.
But I would like to go ahead. Let me finish. Let me not interrupt you. Finish first, Senator Crawford.
Okay. Damen Crawford have greater need for social intervention, for security intervention, for education outcomes intervention. Our current policy gives Damen Crawford the same money as it gives to Campion. The unfortunate conversation in our society is to reduce Campion and supplement Damen Crawford when Campion still needs a minimum amount to survive. So I'm proposing that there should be a sort of funding that analyze the 5 greatest segments of our education offering and make contributions from that 25 billion to the schools that are most in need to improve and to get our students to a point that they can be getting the outcome.
But Senator, now that you've said that, I still would like to ask you this question. That 25 billion from that 1 point increase in GCT, wouldn't that 1 point increase in GCT essentially be affecting those same poverty-stricken people that you're speaking about?
No, sir. If you understand the GCT realities, there are certain things that don't have a GCT.
Light bills have
attached to
GCT,
it.
Senator. You can't
Yes,
avoid that.
but, I
So
said
does
certain
water.
things. Just wait
So
a minute,
does
give me a chance
pretty
to
much
ask
a
the
lot of
question,
other
then you
things.
rebut. You can't rebut in the answer.
Senator, you have been using that skillfully since you come here, you know.
Yes,
You have been talking. You have to wait and for us to get our points in as well.
But listen to what I'm saying.
No, man, we have been listening. And he is making a point that the GCT, they will also have to pay more.
Yes, but they will get more. They will get more. So when the people who are the poorest of the society, they don't pay the most GCT, they don't earn the most and they don't spend the most. However, the outcomes are going to those schools closest to their yards that get the students that have not passed sufficiently the PEP program or the GSAT or whatever the name is now. So the Haile Selassies, the Donald Quarries, the Tarrants, the Denham Town, the Tivoli Gardens, those are the holders of the poorest people in our society. And not the ones that go to prep school and end up at the Campions and the Woolmers and the Immaculate. And therefore, an improved education system is most beneficial. That's why we say 1 degree per household. The households with a degree don't have the high illiteracy that we see.
Senator Crawford, we have been going at it. Senator Crawford, we have been going at it for almost an hour now. And I need to get... Yes, we should. And I need to get you on the record.
Yes.
As a senator, legislator, are you a dual citizen?
No, sir.
You hold citizenship only for Jamaica?
I own citizenship only for Jamaica.
Only for Jamaica?
Only for Jamaica.
Let me ask you, as a legislator, an opposition legislator, and a member of the party of Mr. Golding, Mark Golding, what is your position? Should he renounce or what?
I think we should educate more people so that they can have greater assets available to the parliament.
Say that again?
There's a question that I would not answer on the platform right now. I want to focus on the education outcome.
Yes, but it's a very, very topical issue. It's a very...
I understand. But you will understand that that is not something that we are currently discussing as a party because we are discussing where we stand as a party in general.
Yes, but as a legislator, are you comfortable with your leader holding British and Jamaican citizenship?
I am uncomfortable with the leaders not funding education. That's my biggest discomfort.
But are you comfortable with your leader being a British and Jamaican citizen?
And I'm saying, Cliff, we'll take another hour for me to answer that because I refuse to answer that.
Oh, you refuse? I wonder why. I wonder why.
All I'm saying is we need more funding for education.
Yes,
we need
but
1 degree per household.
But why do you refuse to answer that question?
Because if all of the people within the party goes forward to put its personal opinion, then we will be on the show debating our personal opinion among ourselves.
Is it being debated in the party? But is it being debated in the party?
It is currently being debated in the party because the party is discussing the constitutional reform.
Oh, so this matter of Mr. Golding's dual citizenship is being discussed, being debated.
The matter of dual citizens of any kind being allowed to sit in the parliament is a central conversation within the parliamentary reform because currently those who are of Commonwealth citizenship are allowed. And one must discuss if that is necessary to continue on the basis that there's no longer shared interest among the Commonwealth.
As a PNP, as an opposition senator belonging to the PNP, the former Prime Minister and PNP President, Percival James Patterson, made his position very clear last week.
Yes, but he said he's in the
the pavilion.
Yes, I'm not in the pavilion.
You're on the field.
I'm bowling right now.
You're on the field. You're on the field. Yes? So therefore, and your captain, your leader, yes, is caught in this controversy. Yes? doesn't that take away from your concentration and your diligence as a bowler in terms of your line and length?
There is, wherever the field is set, the bowler have to decide how to bowl. But there is some political gain and loss from every single decision. I'm sure there will be some that say there's political gain from me saying education should be funded, and political loss.
Is this issue of your leaders' dual citizenship a gain or loss politically?
It depends. We see the poll, and we have taken that poll under advisement. We're doing our own polling as well to see where that ends. But I believe that if it is that the law changes, he has indicated that he'll be very willing to go with the law. And as a lawyer, that's a reasonable person to say that where the law goes, he will go. But there will be political losses based on the opinions, and there will be political gains if people believe that it should be open to all dual citizens. I have my own opinion, but
Senator
a political
Crawford
party can't discuss personal opinions
Senator Crawford
every day.
Senator Crawford, does Mark Golding, your PNP leader, enjoys your full support as a British Jamaican dual citizen?
As a leader of the party.
And a dual citizen?
That is secondary.
Oh, it is?
As the leader of the party who have displayed his ability to be victorious in an election, he has my full support.
And if he continues to have dual citizen, it will not affect your chances and the party's chances at the polls?
That is what we are analyzing. And if it does, then there must be pressure placed on the leader to rectify. And if it doesn't, there should be pressure placed on the party to come up with an opinion.
And there's no pressure as of this moment?
We don't have the facts as of this moment.
Would you be comfortable, Senator Crawford, as the Prime Minister of a republic holding a dual citizenship?
I don't know. As I say, I'm not putting my personal opinion. I understand. If we all put our personal opinions, there will be 63 PMP persons debating in the public. We will debate at the NEC, where my personal opinion will be made known, and others who are in agreement would see where the pressures go.
And you expect this to be a topic at the NEC?
Of course, this must be a topic of the NEC. The party would have been derelict in its duty if this is not a topic of the NEC.
And I put it to you...
Not of the leader, but of the Constitution.
And I put it to you, Senator Crawford, that debate on this matter, certainly internally and externally, especially externally, is muted because the political calculations are that Mark Golding just led the PNP to a very good performance in the local elections. Yes. And he is, unchallengeable as of now in the party. And you don't want to rock the boat. So you're all muted.
Well, if I am the opposition spokesperson, Cliff...
Yes or no? You're muted on this issue of dual citizenship.
If I'm the opposition spokesperson, I can do way less for education than if I'm the Minister of Education. My commitment, therefore, is to become the Minister of Education instead of continuing as the opposition spokesperson.
And that is hell or high water?
Huh?
That's come hell or high water?
I'll just have to put my best effort. I don't become hell or high water because sometimes the expense of high water is too high. But I put my best effort. I'll bowl the best balls that I can bowl with the hope to take the most wickets that I can take.
Senator Crawford, Senator Damen Crawford, is the opposition spokesman in education. He's also the party's prospective parliamentary candidate for Northwest St. Catherine. Thank you so much, Senator Crawford.
Thank you for the time. Thank you very much, and a wonderful conversation. I enjoyed it.
Myself, we enjoyed it too. Yes?
All right.
Good. Take care. Time for the break.
Outperform, outlast. We top performance. Jackama. Reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electrician. Fancy select tools, 3 parts and 3 repairs. 3 parts, 3 repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-6111-4. Delta Supply, we service what we sell.
Celebrate with the KYMCA, whose 104th anniversary is this week. Activities commence on June 9 with worship hosted by Bethel Baptist Halfway Tree at 10 a.m. Then join them for opening day on Wednesday, June 12, showcasing the Y School program activities and summer camp registration. Then a family games night on Friday starting at 5:30 p.m. The week climaxes with a swimathon fundraiser Saturday at 7 a.m. and homecoming banquet in the evening, including an art auction and honoring past leaders. That's the KYMCA 104th anniversary, June 9 to 15, 2024.
Does your organization need help to achieve compliance with the Data Protection Act? Contact We Manage Trust today at 876-339-5982 or email info@wemanagetrust.com. Let their team help you to achieve compliance with confidence and learn about their tailored MSME packages. We Manage Trust, the data protection experts. Give them a call at 876-339-5982. That's 876-339-5982. Call them today.
My Mega With so much to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
So what you made of that?
It was an interesting discussion, particularly at the end.
Well, and Mr. Crawford, like several others in the PNP, have had to be defending, because they know they're
a
in a
position
spot
that I
of,
find them not quite comfortable.
they're very uncomfortable about where they find themselves now with Mark Golding's dual citizenship. Yes, and what you heard Crawford there trying to defend, to play within or leave the ball alone. Yes, but it is a difficult time for them.
Which is why I asked Mr. Crawford if he would be comfortable with the Prime Minister of the country, as in, regardless of who holds office in the next year or so, would you be comfortable with the Prime Minister holding dual citizenship, not just being Jamaican?
Yeah, and he dodged.
Because I cannot, I find the suggestion unfathomable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they have made a calculation that, listen, Golding did well in February 26. He has to be the leader of the party into the next election.
But they're in politics a long time, Cliff.
Yes. Because at what point will there be a breach in the dam? Yeah? When will it break? If this continues and the party continues to lose support, then you will see, yeah, people beginning to say, no, this is no longer sustainable.
But let's say that point comes in time. Wouldn't the longer you hold on to that, what I consider to be an untenable position, to be brutally honest?
And that's the word, untenable. Yes.
Isn't the longer you hold that position, aren't you just compounding the damage?
Yes. And it gets to a point where if he were to choose to renounce, it would be of no political moment. And I think he's probably at that point now. And therefore the question has got to be, why hasn't he renounced? What is motivating him?
I thought it was a no-brainer. But
I think so too. It was a no-brainer. But, somebody said to me last week, follow the money. Follow the money to get your answer. Anyway, that's how we're going to leave it this evening. We want to say thanks to Senator Crawford and all our contributors, the YouTubers, yes. They're out, yes, the YouTubers. Of course, our producer, Dana Davey, as well as Delicia Brown-Bull, our technical operator, Andrew Anderson, and members of the news and production team led by our editor, Cara Powell. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.
It is said most boys in Jamaica